Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spring 2024 Peaceful Solution Character Educational Conference. We're back again, and it's wonderful to see a lot of familiar faces. The food was amazing. I want to give a special thanks to everyone who was involved in putting that together. Everyone give them a round of applause. It was delicious. The setting was amazing. It was very peaceful. That was wonderful. Today's theme, the theme for today is Be the Peaceful Solution by planting seeds of morality. Responsible choices start with us. Be the peaceful solution. Be the peaceful solution. And we do that through our actions, through the words that we say, through the way we carry ourselves. Be the peaceful solution. And throughout today, we have some live speakers who are going to be coming on. We have speakers who are going to be covering different topics: war, the destabilization of nations, school violence, teen pregnancy, a whole bunch of different issues that the world is suffering from greatly at this time, the financial crisis, and they're going to talk about how we can be that peaceful solution and how the peaceful solution can be implemented to solve those issues. So we'd also like to thank the House of Yahweh, first of all, for allowing us to use their auditorium to host this event. And without any further delay, because we do have a packed morning, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our partners in peace so they can get the day started for us. Everybody have a wonderful.
Welcome everyone, bienvenidos, karibui to the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program Spring 2024 one-day event. As our partners in peace said, our theme today is Be the Peaceful Solution by planting seeds of morality. Responsible choices start with us. We live in a society where stress is at a level like no other. Anxiety is at a level that we've never seen. And we are living in uncertain times, to say the least. But even with all those things, time doesn't stop. You might hear our theme today and feel a bit overwhelmed. But one thing I want you to keep in mind is that change doesn't occur overnight. The problems that we see today didn't start overnight, so the solution is not going to be evident overnight either. But before you can recognize the solution, you first have to figure out what the problem is and how the problem came to be before you can have the solution. The strength of our society lies in the conduct of every individual. So just like you would have a plant or a seed and water it, and you would give it time to grow, we must be just as kind to ourselves and give ourselves that room to grow as we educate ourselves and face even the most vulnerable parts of ourselves. Change starts with one voice, one choice, and one courageous person who is willing to educate themselves. And when we all do our part, we are one step closer to becoming a global family of peace. And with this, I would like to turn it over to the Peaceful Solution Seeds of Peace.
Hi, how can I help you? We would like to buy some morality seeds, please. We were told that people can plant seeds of morality. Seeds of morality? Yes, seeds of morality. But we don't sell seeds of morality. We have tomato, cucumbers, peppers, squash, watermelon, eggplant. But no morality? What kind of seed store is this? Let me call the manager. Maybe she can help us. Miss Bria! Hi, how can I help you? We would like to buy some morality seeds, please. By the way, what's morality? Morality is to know the difference between right and wrong, and then to always choose to do what's right. Oh, now we get it. So you can't buy seeds of morality. So how do you plant seeds of morality? By making right choices, and when others see you doing what's right, it'll encourage them to make right choices too. Before you know it, we'll all be making right choices. So let's all plant seeds of morality and make our gardens grow. What a beautiful place the world will be when we all practice morality.
Give a round of applause. Even though it can seem like such a simple skit, such a simple example, it starts with those simple seeds, those thoughts planted in people's minds, that they start to see the value of making right choices. With this, it's our privilege and honor to turn it over to our partners in peace.
Hello, everyone. Morning.
Welcome to another Peaceful Solution Conference 2024. My name is William. I'm one of the Peaceful Solution instructors along with Gatan Alexander. We have a great honor to introduce somebody to you. He's been a personal friend of mine for many years. Myself and Gatan and the whole Peaceful Solution team going out teaching the schools all over Texas and all over the United States and in other countries as well. He's from Chilton, Wisconsin. His name is Jeffrey Heimerman. And as I said, he's an excellent instructor of the Peaceful Solution. He's a great friend. And I'd like to turn it over to Gatan to let you know what he's going to be talking to us about today.
Thank you, William. Well, we're going to have a lot of great speeches, presentations this morning in regards to many different topics and how the Peaceful Solution can be implemented within it. But like William said, I've also known Jeff for many, many years, a little over 32 years, and our friendship goes way, way back. And the topic that he's going to be talking about today really ties perfectly with his own personality when it comes to finances, you know, being very mindful and careful about finances. And so I want you to pay very close attention, because what he's going to be talking about, it's going to be so simple that even a child can understand. It's going to be basic understanding of something that is concerning everybody, the national debt. Trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars in national debt in just the United States alone. But he's going to be talking about the national debt and how the Peaceful Solution could actually be implemented to stop this ever-growing problem. So if you'll all please give a round of applause for our speaker, Jeff Heimerman. Oh, first, before he comes up, we're going to play a video first, and then he's going to give his presentation. Sorry about that.
If you stacked up the full debt of the United States in $100 bills, you could make not one, not two, but 13 piles of cash as tall as the Washington Monument. Lisa Desjardins takes a step back from the debt ceiling negotiations on Capitol Hill to account for what the nation owes.
Okay, the national debt, all of the money the U.S. government owes, is currently at $31.4 trillion. But what does that mean? For one, that's decades worth of government spending, things like Medicaid and other health care, the U.S. military, food stamps and other benefits, fixing roads, Head Start and schools, the environment, national parks, and 1,000 other areas. It's simple. For years, what the U.S. government spent on those things was far greater than the amount of money it had brought in to pay for them. That stacked up to that $31.4 trillion in debt we have now. That's an enormous, almost nonsensical number. So let's put it a different way. If all Americans pitched in, it would take $94,000 from each one of us, every man, woman, and child, to pay off the national debt.
The U.S. national debt in dollars is by far the largest in the world. Back in the year 2000, it was a relatively easy lift. The debt equaled just 36% of the combined earnings, goods, and everything the U.S. economy produced that year. But it shot up, and now the U.S. is shouldering a national debt that is 98% of what we will produce this year. And much worse, if nothing changes, in 30 years, the debt is forecast to soar, to be nearly twice as large as everything the economy produces, a potentially overwhelming weight for the U.S. economy.
As the debt keeps creeping up, we just are placing a greater and greater burden on the next generation.
Michael Peterson is CEO of the Peterson Foundation, a nonprofit group focused on the U.S. budget long term. And he's particularly worried about the cost of the debt.
The interest cost is really what is the cost of the debt. If you think over a long period of time, by about 2050, approximately 50% of federal revenues will go towards interest only.
That means by 2053, when little kids today are in their 30s, the interest costs on the national debt will be the largest expenditure the federal government has. And 50%, half of the taxes that these guys pay, will go to those interest costs.
That will constrict funding for everything, including what we mentioned earlier, healthcare, the military, food stamps, education, and the environment. Even Social Security benefits would be significantly cut.
There is still time to change course and multiple ways to address the debt. But the longer lawmakers wait to tackle it, the deeper and more painful future cuts and the future burden will be. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Lisa Desjardins.
In just the time it took Lisa to tell that story, the U.S. slipped nearly $10 million deeper into debt. And each passing second brings the country closer to a first-ever default.
There is still time to change course. Welcome, everyone, to the 2024 Peaceful Solution Character Education Spring Conference. I'm Jeffrey Heimerman. Thanks for joining us. The topic of my discussion with you this morning is the national debt, along with any other financial situation and the very simple things that the Peaceful Solution teaches us to solve it. I appreciate the warm welcome from my friends, Katan and William. A couple of things to note from that report that you just saw. The Washington Monument is 555 feet tall, and the national debt is equal to 13 stacks of $100 bills, each 555 feet tall. That's a lot of Benjamin Franklin's. And the sad part is that that report was given 10 months ago. And since then, our ever-increasing wonderful national debt has grown from 31.4 trillion to a hefty $34.6 trillion. So we might as well go ahead and add a 14th stack of $100 bills to the other 13. After all, who's counting? Let's lay a little groundwork. What is the national debt? From usafacts.org, simply put, the national debt is the total amount of outstanding borrowed money the federal government has accumulated over time. For every year the U.S. spends more money than it earns, the result is a budget deficit. And please keep that phrase, budget deficit, in mind, as we will mention it again here in a little bit. So these deficits add up over time, creating a bill that the U.S. covers by borrowing money from investors. This bill is compounded by interest owed to these investors, resulting in what we have called the national debt. And for every year the federal government runs a deficit, the national debt grows as a result of the increasing amount of money borrowed. And the U.S. has run a budget deficit over the last 20 years, substantially growing the national debt. Of course, the higher the budget deficit, the higher the national debt. So let me give you an example. I'm the federal government. I have a little economy going. I sell products. I offer services, for which in turn I take in money. So at the end of the year, my income, which we'll go ahead and call GDP, or gross domestic product, equals $100. However, the amount of money that I spent in that same year equals $106. In other words, I have a budget deficit of $6. So here's where some of my friends come in, which we'll go ahead and call investors. Catan Enterprises has agreed to cover $2, and William Investments agreed to cover the other $4. However, Catan has informed me that he will be adding an additional 50 cents to the $2 that I owe him, while William is only agreeing to loan the $4 if an additional $2.50 is paid back to him, which brings that total from 106 to 109. So let's go ahead and call all that extra money that they're tacking on, we'll call that interest. So all in all, not too bad. What's the problem? If Catan and William are willing to continue to fund my budget deficit, why not continue borrowing? After all, business is great and the economy is strong. Well, remember that graph we saw? Let's take a look at it now. It should be coming up on your screen. So in the year 2000, which is really not that long ago, the United States national debt was 36% of the U.S. economy. In other words, what the U.S. spent in 1 year on all its programs and projects was 36% higher than it brought in to pay for them. Interesting to note, the U.S. has carried a debt since its beginning, and debt incurred during the American Revolutionary War amounted to over $75 million by January 1st of 1991. Now, that's just a drop in the bucket compared to today's military budget hovering at $884 billion. So those planes that you hear roaring overhead, more than likely were purchased on borrowed money. So back to the chart. Advance forward to the year 2023, where we see everything the United States owes in 1 year equaling everything that it makes at 98%. And that projected forecast showing that soon we will be paying just the interest owed on all our borrowed money. So, back to our example and the federal government. So over the next several years, I continue to be irresponsible and undisciplined by offering services and selling products and without adjusting any of my policies and procedures. Nor do I watch my spending in any way. Until one day I realized that everything I make is just about equal to everything I owe my investors. And speaking of those investors, Catan and William, they've since stopped lending me money and are just collecting the interest that I owe them. And now I've had to look for new investors, such as Chris Properties, who, by the way, has seen my track record and will only lend to me if I pay a very large interest rate. So as you can see, I've dug myself a pretty hefty hole. But there's one thing that I forgot to mention along the way. All of you are being taken care of by me, the federal government. And the only way I can continue to take care of all of you is by raising your taxes, charging you more services offered, charging you more for the services that I offer, and doubling the cost of products, and in some cases, even tripling them. But don't get upset at me. After all, I'm the federal government, and I take care of you. So what's the solution? Or even better yet, what's the peaceful solution? Back in 2012, the peaceful solution embarked on a journey to stop all wars. We traveled to the nation's capital in Washington, D.C. to speak with leaders, politicians, lawmakers. These are the top. And we made every effort to show them that there is a very simple way to have peace. But this simple three-step method of stopping all wars isn't used just for stopping all wars. It can be applied to many difficult situations that we as a society face today, such as the national debt. And even if it was only for wars, you could say that our national debt is a war of finances that each person is having to fight to survive. So let's take a minute to look at these steps. Step one, slow down and assess what's going on. Assess the situation. Take a step back and really look. We're spending more as a nation than we're producing. Think about that. Our simple budget of $100 is costing us close to double that amount, and we're not going to be able to sustain our very excessive lifestyles much longer. We need to simply cut back. Step two, admit we need to change, and we have to be quick about it. Now, from the responsibility unit, page 15, it says, Accepting responsibility for our actions means being honest with yourself and admitting that you are wrong. When you admit that you are wrong, you give yourself an opportunity to change, mature, and grow. Otherwise, you will continue to make the same poor choices over and over again. Kind of like that graph that we showed earlier, where the line just continues to go up with no change in sight. So people who choose not to be accountable, they make excuses for their actions or shift the blame onto someone else. So admitting that we need to change when we've become the most powerful nation on earth is not always easy, and it's certainly not an easy thing to do, but it's definitely the right thing to do, especially when so many people are counting on us. And being quick about it goes without saying. As we saw, we ended 2023 and entering 2024 with our national debt almost equaling our economy, what our economy is able to produce. And remember that stability indicator that was mentioned in the video? Well, it's indicating that we are not stable at all. So step 3, lay a foundation. Here's where the peaceful solution really comes into play. So policies and procedures are all great, and they're necessary in a situation like this, but policies and procedures alone, they don't change things. It's the people who make them. If those same people are responsible, then they will develop responsible policies. If those same people are disciplined, then they will be able to carry out those policies effectively. In the responsibility unit on page 79, this is about discipline. It says, to be disciplined is to follow a specific pattern of behavior until it becomes a habit and a normal part of the way you behave. Becoming disciplined requires both self-control and being consistent. And self-control and consistency is what we're lacking today. We need to develop new habits and start living within our means instead of having others fund our poor management skills, even though I greatly appreciate my friends, William and Catan. Because eventually, we will run out of those friends that will support these poor habits. From the character unit on page 17, it says being responsible means to be accountable and answerable for your actions. Being known as a reliable person, someone else or some others can count on. So as the top nation, we should be setting the examples for others to follow, living within our means, instead of being the example of what not to do. And in the responsibility unit on page 99, in order to have a society of responsible people, each individual must be willing to accept responsibility for his choices or her choices and the outcome of his life. Blaming others is only going to make the problem worse. So, our theme for this 2024 conference is Be the Peaceful Solution by Planting Seeds of Morality. Responsibility, responsible choices start with us. So I realize that this monumental task of lowering and even eliminating the national debt, it's not going to be solved by one single principle or tool of the peaceful solution. And it's certainly not going to be solved overnight. It's going to take implementing the entire program over time, laying that foundation and all aspects of it if we are ever going to get a handle on this. And one last thing. You remember that $94,000 that each and every one of you owe me? I'll make a deal with you. After all, I am the federal government. You go ahead and you take the Peaceful Solution Program and you learn what to do, and we'll cancel that debt. So at this time, I turn it back over to my investors and my friends, William and Catan.
sorry to inform you, William had to go and count all his money.
Yes.
My wallet's a little bit lighter, but my mind's a lot fuller from that great information we just heard from Jeffrey regarding finances.
You know, finance is nothing without an environment to put it into, right? So we have to be very, very careful and very respectful about our environment and understanding how to use our economy to benefit the ecology.
That's right. For years, we've seen how mankind has abused the environment or the ecology, like you're saying, for the quest of finances, and that has led to a lot of deficiencies in our resources, and as a result led to a lot of things like famines and pestilences throughout the world.
Yeah.
Well, for our next speaker, we have a little introduction for him. I want you to think about this. What do we expect living in a capitalist nation? If there's a way to make money from a certain resource, someone is going to find it, and they're going to exploit that resource to the very limits. Our next speaker is going to be taking a look at one of those resources that people have exploited for the sake of money. Once thought to be an inexhaustible resource that could not be used up no matter how it was treated, the land, and more specifically, the soil, was believed to be that resource. Well, John Bragg is going to explain why and how the drive to make money from the land pushed the land to the breaking point, and how the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program can teach us how we can avoid making that mistake again. We now turn it over to John Bragg.
Greetings. Our environment, take care of it, and it will take care of you. The quest for money and power has been a driving force in this country, this capitalist country, which is a country built around the idea of getting rich, making money, making huge amounts of money. And the quest for money and power was actually the driving force behind the people who built America up to begin with. The men who built America, they found a resource that they were able to use, that they were able to exploit, and they started working on it and building it. People like Andrew Carnegie and the Rockefellers and the Fords and so many others that actually took a resource, built a product around it, and then sold that product to no end. I mean, they just kept on going and going, and there were battles between them and so forth. Not bang, bang, shoot 'em up battles, but they were always in competition against each other to see who would get the best of the other. Well, the land and the soil in particular did not go unnoticed. For thousands of years, the land didn't change very much. Year after year, vegetation would grow, die back, and then grow again the next season in an unfailing succession. And we see that around us because there's still places where that applies. There are forests that are still growing, still producing, but you know, all of that started to change back in 1917. In 1917, the United States was at war. The First World War was taking place, and the battle cry that led to the winning of the war was "Wheat will win the war." Wheat will win the war. Well, what were they talking about? What was the The purpose behind this, well, in the center of the United States, there was the Central Plain states that was covered by, to just look at it, it was just grasslands. But to look at it more closely, it was a rich, fertile land that, you know, the things that were planted there, the things that were growing there, they just kept growing and growing and growing. Well, they plowed up the land and they planted wheat because that's what they used. They used it. How is wheat going to say? How is wheat going to win the war? The wheat was used to send food to the troops, and you keep them fed. And anyone knows, you know, a soldier works on his stomach. A soldier works on his stomach, and so it'll keep them fed so that they can continue to fight that war until it's over. Well, eventually, the abundant harvest that came out of the Plain States did, in fact, help to win the war. But after the war was over, there was also the promise of getting rich. There you have, getting rich, the quest for money again. The promise of getting rich from that same land, because there were settlers that had gone out there and they had settled that land and they had built it up and so forth. Well, through the 20s, they plowed more and more land until very little land was unplowed. You know, the land, vast areas were plowed up, but the areas where the people actually lived, there was a little bit left open for them to walk around on and to live on, but it wasn't to last. It was not to last. In the 1930s, saw a drought that would turn this rich farmland into clouds of dust. Into clouds of dust, the Dust Bowl. The land itself was exhausted, and the wind just picked up the soil and blew it away. It blew it clean across the United States. Well, about the same time, chemical fertilizers were coming into widespread use. And you know, the chemical fertilizers, they were great. The plants that were fed with these chemicals, they grew very, very quickly. And they promised big profits for those who made their living on growing crops and selling them. Big profits, there it is again, searching for money. Well, I remember as a child back in the 60s, when I was helping my dad with the farming, and he was using what was considered the conventional way of gardening at that time. You know, you plant the seeds, you mix enough fertilizer with the whole mix to add the fertilizer necessary to keep it growing, and they would never fail to produce a big crop. It would never fail to produce a big crop. And it seems so normal to do this because, well, it was the way that I learned. It was the only way to do it that I could remember. But of course, as the season went along, weeds became a problem. Bugs became a problem. Fungus became a problem. All these things became problems. They were pests in the garden. But don't worry about that. You know, the herbicides that we would get from a store, from an agricultural store, would kill the weeds. And that would take care of that problem. Pesticides would take care of the bug problem. Fungicides would take care of the fungus. And so on and so forth. And if one failed to work, then, well, don't worry about that either, because there would always be another one to take its place. There would always be a way to bring out an abundant harvest from the crops that we were planting. It did seem strange, though, that when we wanted to go fishing, we would never dig in the garden to find worms. We would never dig in the garden to find worms. It wasn't that we would disturb the crops. You know, that was one thing that my dad was concerned of, is you'll disturb the crops. You'll cause the problem with the crops, and they won't produce like they should. But that wasn't the problem, because we could always dig between the rows. But the thing is, we could never find worms in the garden. There was a place where we could find worms, but it wasn't in the garden. I mean, big, fat, juicy worms, but it was not in the garden. The worms, or rather the lack thereof, in the gardens was showing us that this just was not sustainable. If whatever this was driving away the worms, or worse, killing the worms, how long would it be before these same chemicals were actually making us sick and eventually killing us? Enter the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program. A Peaceful Solution showed us that there is another way to solve this problem without using all the chemicals. The author of the Peaceful Solution told us that the chemicals were being used to actually force the crops to grow. To actually force the crops to grow. And fighting a war, fighting back the weeds, fighting back the pests, fighting back the fungus that was giving us the problems. Well, there's a lot more that we did not understand about that. But, you know, everything looked great, but there was something vital missing from the whole mix. There was something vital missing from the whole mix, and that was the nutrients. You see, the plants that were growing, the plants that were being grown in this manner, they were very low on nutrients. We were overlooking, what we were overlooking is that the crops we were growing and eating were almost void of nutritional value. Why was that? Because the plants were having such an easy time getting three major nutrients to grow on: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, that they did not get the minerals necessary to give rise to these other nutrients that were needed for the plant's healthy growth. Furthermore, studies showed that people who were fed on chemical-grown foods were more likely to get sick from a variety of diseases. Now, these diseases didn't come right on. I mean, you eat a carrot that was grown with chemicals, and all of a sudden the next day you're sick. These are diseases that take place after a long period, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years of feeding on these chemical fertilizers. That's when you get sick. It would creep up on you slowly, but it would come up on you anyway. People who eat foods that were pre-processed are even worse off than those who were getting their food straight from the garden, even if it is grown with chemicals, because the processing of these foods often destroys what little nutrients there are left. Not only that, but studies also show that these same chemicals are getting into the groundwater, they're getting into the streams, into the rivers, into the lakes, and even into the oceans. there are quite literally, we are quite literally, well, no, they are quite literally poisoning the planet that we depend on for our very lives. You know, at that point, I'm reminded of Carl Sagan's, talk on the pale blue dot. And he goes on talking about the pale blue dot and how small, how insignificant it is in the picture. And he says our entire lives were lived out on that tiny point, and that was viewed from within the solar system. But our entire lives were in that little spot right there. And I had to ask myself, you know, we've got such a small, such an insignificant place in the universe, and yet we're treating it as if it's trash or a trash disposal. If that isn't enough, there are also pollutants of every sort, industrial wastes that go into the air, into the water, into the earth, that serve no purpose whatsoever except that they are the useless byproducts of some manufacturing process. And what is it that is being manufactured? You know, a lot of times, it's, I guess you could say it's an alphabet soup of synthetic materials that leach out chemicals into the environment that cause harm to virtually all living things. In fact, time would fail me to even start covering all the harm that has been done to the environment, let alone to the life in it. The character education, the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program actually introduces us to the subject that what we can do about it. The first thing we can do about it is get educated about the nature and extent of the subject. Find out about the harm that is being done and what you can do to start reversing that harm. Yes, there is a way to reverse the harm that has been done and is being done. In the garden, you can start learning about the natural fertilizers that do not force the plant to grow, but rather feed the worms, and here's a new one, the microorganisms that actually facilitate the growth of the plants. The crops that are grown under these conditions will actually be more nutritious and as such will not be troubled by the other pests that are bothersome. Yes, throughout nature there is only the weak and sickly that are attacked. The strong and healthy tend to avoid being attacked, and that goes for the world of plants too. Furthermore, the Peaceful Solution is applied to the garden, the soil, which under certain situations grows weaker the more it is used, but will actually begin to grow richer and more fertile as time goes on using the Peaceful Solution. The microbial life that supports the growth and healthy plants will become richer and more abundant as time goes on. The garden will actually come to life as it never has before. Well, I'd like to skip ahead a little bit, because as one of the first things that is said in the Peaceful Solution is get educated. And the thing is, there is so much information about this that we need to know about and that we can use to reverse this problem that there's no way I can cover it here. But in Chapter 7 of virtually every part of the Peaceful Solution, there is covered what we can do about the environment and how to improve the health of the environment and the health of the people who are using the environment as well. The Peaceful Solution Character Education Program can help, and it will help. The only way the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program will not help us is if we refuse to use it. If we refuse to use it, then it won't help. To put it to work in our lives, that's what we need to do, is put it to work in our lives. In fact, if we would like to help, or if you would like to help in teaching the Peaceful Solution in your field, then by all means send a request on the Peaceful Solution website to get in contact with someone who can help you get started. We'd be glad to have you aboard. In any case, you can send your tax-exempt donation through that same website. And together, we can change the world.
Thank you, John, for that excellent reminder. We all have to understand and know that we do have to be educated about the planet that we live on and how to maintain it. And we have to show that respect to that planet also in order that we can live together in true peace with the Peaceful Solution.
Nana, that's so true. And our next speaker that we'll be introducing shortly, he's got a clip here that he'd like everyone to see and pay attention to what's taking place. And keeping in mind that our environment covers everything. And so we want to work with this, stop all wars, and anybody who wants to work with the Peaceful Solution, as John just said, contact us. We want to talk to you, okay? If you could play the clip now, please.
What is the cause of this?
There's been a sharp rise in cases of some sexually transmitted diseases, including a 26% rise in new syphilis infections. And it's prompting health officials to call for new prevention and treatment efforts.
Dr. Wright, I don't know if you know. What would be the reason?
Well, one thing, Michael, is it was a long, cold, hard pandemic. And now people are back. It was lonely, man. And so that's one thing. But when it comes to things like syphilis, it was going up since 1998. And that is thought to be due to decreased spending on prevention, education, all of those things. So it's not rocket science.
Go ahead.
Is it just syphilis, or is it also gonorrhea or some others?
All of them.
All of them. Okay.
Chlamydia, gonorrhea, even HIV.
Hello, everyone. Sorry.
All right. Thank you for that clip. And again, it is an excellent opportunity that we have to be educated on these things so we can know to stay away and abstain from various acts.
Exactly. And our next speaker, to some of you, he needs no introduction, but we're going to go ahead and do it anyway. You'll be hearing from the International Director of the Peaceful Solution, Chris Heiler, and he's going to be pointing out some things and exploring how with one simple choice, death and sickness could be reduced drastically through the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program. So now if you'll give him a hand, he's here to share that with us.
Thank you very much. We're always excited. We get ahead of the program most of the time around here. We're always excited to get this information out. And once again, I would like to say welcome to all of you that are here in the auditorium. For those of you that are watching online internationally, I know there are many people. Hola, etuse, shalom, and salam to all of you that are watching internationally. And one thing that we're going to talk about this morning, along with what Jeffrey and John have talked about, is something that affects all of us internationally. It doesn't matter the status of the country you're in, how rich or poor. There are some things that are affecting us on a global scale. And of course, the things that I want to talk about this morning are very hard topics that the Peaceful Solution has always taken on. The Peaceful Solution doesn't avoid a topic because it's difficult to talk about. We don't overlook a topic because it's something that seems, you can't make a change. There's nothing that can be done. In fact, we're going to talk about this morning briefly on what's taking place because education is not available. And I do want to make a comment concerning the news reporter, the doctor you heard say that one of the things is due to lack of funding of education. And I would like to remind everyone that education through the Peaceful Solution is offered free. There's not one dime that's required to be educated in character education. And we do take on the topics such as sexually transmitted diseases and a few others that I want to briefly talk about this morning. You know, here in Science Alert, and I'll show you this real quick because this is something the author of the Peaceful Solution, Yisrael Hawkins, he warned about, that this is coming. It's already here, but it's going to get worse. And you see where experts confirm U.S. is dealing with an out-of-control STI epidemic. And it says that the United States is dealing with an out-of-control epidemic of sexually transmitted infections, and that was according to the National Coalition of Sexually Transmitted Diseases. Imagine that, a coalition that has been developed and is being funded to let us know how bad things are. Well, the warning comes after the release of an annual data report, and I want you to catch that. This warning comes after the release of an annual data report on STIs by the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Now, they're letting us know that there has been more than 2.5 million cases of chlamydia, gonorrhea, and syphilis reported in the United States in 1 year. But it's really much worse than that. And we're going to get into that briefly with what's taking place. But here the CDC reports that syphilis cases of all stages have increased by 80% over the past 5 years. One thing about studies is it lets you know where you stand. The bad thing about a study is it lets you know what you've done. In other words, it's already taking place. And I want you to consider how much sense would it make if you were told to bake a cake and when you're done, I'll give you the recipe. Or if you give someone a power tool that could really hurt them, and after they're injured, you explain the safety and the protocol behind what should be done so you're not injured. You know, in the Peaceful Solution, we tackle these topics, and in the Building More Excellence unit, you know, we talk about on page 68, sex is more than just a three-letter word. And why is it such a hard topic to talk about? I want you to consider, and of course we have many classes that go much more in depth on this topic. Whenever you start looking at disease that is spread, whether it be chlamydia, gonorrhea, syphilis, HIV, HPV, and many other diseases that are spread this way, now monkeypox, meningitis, Ebola, and Zika is also being labeled with STDs because how they are spread. If we would educate our children from a young age, the reason that these things take place, how they take place, and the choices that are made behind them, if we would just educate them on the consequences. But that's not what's taking place. And on page 68 of the BME, Building More Excellence unit, we say many teenagers watch shows and movies that are geared toward more mature audiences. These shows and movies contain graphic, explicit messages about sex. Such images are rarely offset by seriously talking about the consequences. You see all of these things done, but yet the consequences are never shown. And it says, however, they often report that these experiences, once they try them, that these experiences leave them feeling disappointed, embarrassed, used, and cheapened. So once they try to reenact what they're seeing on the TV, you know, they're movie stars, they're heroes, everybody that's there, they feel like, I'll be just like them. But they feel empty, they feel shallow, and they feel depleted. And worse yet, whenever they start feeling chills and rashes show up and other things that take place in the body, then they start feeling regret. But sadly, scientists are now coming out saying that there's a few STDs are not curable. But they're also saying that these STDs are a living entity. They're growing. They actually can manipulate your body to do what they want to do. They can take control of your immune system. You know, right now they say herpes and hepatitis B, you know, are very strong in the body and not curable. HIV also with the human papillomavirus. So those are four they're labeling as not curable. But they're also showing that a person that has syphilis, it can lie dormant in your body for years as it's destroying your body while it's there, and you have no clue until you finally see it come to the surface. When you talk about how these things are out of control, this is a very scary topic right here. In the United States, 1 in 5 people in the United States have a sexually transmitted infection. 1 in 5. Right now, the United States is spending about $16 billion a year trying to prevent STDs. They say education. Well, they're also coming out and warning it's out of control. So $16 billion isn't fixing it. The peaceful solution would like to offer education. For a tenth of that price, we could really educate people. We could help people, but yet we're going to have to take a stance on what is right and wrong. Basic morality. Whenever young people get involved in these situations, not just young people, but this is throughout life. You know, it can be from the youngest teenager to the oldest adult. No one's immune from this. You can't hide from it. It doesn't matter what color of skin you have or what country you're from. You know, diseases don't care. They mutate and they spread because of choices, because of actions. They don't sneak up behind you as you walk around the corner and jump on you and, I gotcha. But sadly, there are some people that get these diseases of no fault on their own. And you're talking about newborn babies who come out with 1 foot in the grave because they have these diseases that are life-threatening as they were being formed and then being delivered into the world. Well, what is the answer that this world has for things of that situation? Well, I want to read to you this fact right here because this is a heartbreaking fact. It says, last year in 2023, 61 million people died. So we had 61 million deaths globally. Well, we combined that with the fact that there were 134 million babies born. So the population increased by 73 million. That sounds, well, yeah, okay, but then why are reports coming out saying that deaths are superseding births? How could that be possible? Well, it's also a sad fact that roughly 121 million unintended pregnancies occur each year. Of these unattended pregnancies, 61% end in abortion. These translate to 73 million abortions a year. I want you to think about that, 73 million abortions a year. And I know that's a heated topic, where you have pro-life and pro-choice. I always repeat what the author of The Peaceful Solution says when people argue about it's not a life. It's just a thing. And I always repeat what he says. If it's not a life, why do you have to kill it? Why do you have to terminate it? When looking, I want you to consider this and think about this and put this in your mind. If you don't teach a child the dangers of spreading diseases and what can take place, when they become adults, what do you think they're going to do? Well, we talk about influences in The Peaceful Solution, and I want to read you off of page 58, the Building More Excellence. It says, one of the greatest challenges you will face developing your positive character is how you are influenced and what you're influenced to do. We go on to explain that an influence is anything with the potential to affect the way you think, feel, and act. Influences can also affect what you value or can motivate you to adopt new values. Anything that has the potential to affect you and your values also has the potential to affect your character. And remember, we stress, do not underestimate the power of an influence, because these things can actually affect you to a point to where we can start making some really irrational decisions. We can do things that we stand back and look and go, what are we doing? I want to give you an example. Right now, in the news, you hear about war. You hear about the threats of nuclear war in Ukraine. You see what's going on in Gaza, and you hear about Israel and Palestine and the bombings in Syria that are continually taking place. I want you to think about this. Imagine you woke up one morning and you hear Ukraine, Syria, Israel, and Palestine were all nuked. Nuclear bombs were dropped, and every citizen in Ukraine, Syria, Israel, and Palestine died. Do you know there's more children aborted than would have died through that nuclear exchange? You could wipe out all 4 countries, and that's still not as many lives as is taken through abortions every year. To give you an idea, if abortion was a country, in 2 years, abortion, the country abortion, would be larger than Russia. In 3 years, it would be larger than Nigeria. In 4.5 years, the country of abortion would be larger than the United States. And in 19.5 years, the country of abortion would surpass India and China as the largest country on the face of the earth. And these are taking place through people not wanting to accept responsibility. And people will say, well, what about if someone is medically stricken and if they don't do it, they're going to die? I advise everyone research that. You'll find out that's about 0.02% of situations that's used to negotiate why it's okay to take the life of a child. Well, what else is taking place with what we do with not teaching our children how to make responsible choices and then they become adults? I want to briefly talk about what's taking place in society through exploitation. The United States is a wealthy country on paper, as long as you don't look at what Jeff talked about. We're going to need some money from Jeff to cover these STD bills, by the way, which we don't have. So you can only imagine how it's getting worse. But the United States is a country that lives on credit, and credit cards does wonders on the internet. In South America, you have people that if they're making $35 or $40 a week, that's success. I've talked to many people and I asked them, what is success for you in your job? And success is, I could afford enough food to eat at least 2 meals a day for the next week. That's success, nothing more. But when you have an economy that is so low, that is so stricken, and you have the United States that has so much money and perverseness is everywhere, imagine when someone creates websites and they invite these young women onto these websites and tell them, you can make $100 a week. These men will pay you to do whatever you want to do, and you can get rich. And now we have people in the United States that have become billionaires due to the exploitation of women and men in countries that are less financially stable, and the business is thriving. I want you to think about the people that go through these, and I hope one day that you can hear testimonials from the people that talk about how suicide seemed like the only option. Please blur my face out because my parents have no clue to what I've done. Please, I don't want anyone to know that this is my way of life. I don't want to do this, but if I don't, I can't eat. I want you to think about how the lack of education on that 3-letter word is causing disease, sickness, and death all around the world, and it is the leading cause of death by far. So please consider that, and once again, contact the Peaceful Solution, and the Peaceful Solution will offer this education for free. It's already online for everyone to partake of. At this time, I'm going to turn it back over to William, who's going to join us. We have a special guest speaker, and I'm going to let William introduce him. Thank you very much.
Israel, try to walk. Welcome, everyone, again. It's really a great honor and privilege that we have a very special speaker today. And I'm pretty sure most of you here probably know who he is. He's world known. And in fact, why don't I just surprise you with the following video. Go ahead and play the video.
Will you thrive or barely survive when the new millennium gets here? Gerald
We
Celente
all right?
is the author of Trends 2000. We are joined tonight by Gerald Celente, director of the Trends Research Institute from New York. If you're writing the history book of trends.
Now that we have a better understanding of the millennium, what does it mean for our future? Gerald Celente, director of the Trends Research Institute, says we'll be living significantly different lives.
Those are just a few of the predictions of Gerald Celente, founder of the Trends Research Institute.
So what are the big trends we're looking at in the real new millennium?
Gerald Celente. He's co-author.
Gerald Celente makes it his business to predict the future.
Turn to our favorite trends expert, Gerald Celente. Here with us now, a guy who obviously knows his trends, Gerald Celente.
Joining me now from New York, Gerald Celente.
We're back with Gerald Celente, author of Trends 2000. We seem to have sparked some interest there.
And one man who makes a living extrapolating those trends is Gerald Celente, publisher of Trends Journal.
Good morning. Morning trends for the next millennium. We've got a new year and soon enough a new century. Gerald Celente of the Trends Research Institute predicts in his new book, Trends 2000. Good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. And wait till you see New Year's 1999 is going to be the party of all time.
Oh, I know that.
Thank you for having me, Natalie.
Well, are either of those scenarios going to be a reality? I would vote yes.
Welcome back to the Cryer Report. Continuing my conversation with Gerald Celente. Fascinating book. A lot of people hear the word trends.
How do you determine these trends?
Well, current events form future trends. The seeds of tomorrow are planted in today's major social, economic, and political events. That's why I'm a political atheist.
Gerald Celente says more Americans are going the warehouse way.
Should we be optimistic at all, Gerald, about these changes that the American people are looking for?
Until we change and have a deeper meaning of life, then things won't change. But the Renaissance is going. Don't you believe that is true? Now, let me ask you guys this. When you hear this, does this resonate with you? Doesn't it feel like it's the truth? It just feels like it's the truth.
Unfortunately, we're out of time, but the book is fascinating. The Trends for the Year 2000. Gerald Celente, you need to check it out.
I can tell you from our experience here in 3 months that you've got that one pretty much nailed. Gerald Celente, the editor and publisher of the Trends Journal, we thank you for your time.
Always nice to see you.
Gerald Celente.
Interesting discussion. I appreciate it.
You're always terrific.
Gerald Celente.
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 Gerald Celente. Gerald Celente. Gerald Celente.
So have you guessed yet? Yeah, Mr. Celente is joining us today from Kingston, New York, his home. He's from the Bronx, New York. He was born in 1946. He's the publisher of the Trends Journal. He's the founder and director of the Trends Institute. And if you can go to the next, he's a frequent, well, I can get to that. But anyway, he's very well known for a lot of the things that he predicted in the financial markets, including the 2008 crash and a lot of other things along the way. If you can go to the next slide. He has a weekly magazine. It's called the Trends Journal. Comes out every Tuesday. You'll see him a lot on Redacted. He comes on Alex Jones every Monday. You'll see him with Judge Napolitano quite frequently. He has his own webcast, of course, on YouTube. The author of The Peaceful Solution, Israel Hawkins, loved what this man had to say. And we love him too, and we're very thankful that he's joining us today. If you can show that last slide. He also has an organization that he founded. It's called Occupy Peace and Freedom. And you can find that at occupypeaceandfreedom.com. I'm sure he'll tell us a little bit about it today. But without any further delay, if we're ready, I would like to turn this over now to our great friend, Gerald Celente.
Thank you very much. And as we say in Italian, Buona Pasqua, Happy Easter. And it's not a very happy Easter for me and for much of the world as I see what's going on. The Israel war and the Ukraine war, it's the beginning of World War III. And if we don't have peace, it's going to be the end of life on Earth. Once upon a time, not too long ago, they asked somebody by the name of Albert Einstein, what kind of weapons will be used to fight the Third World War? It's a cat that knew a thing or two about the atomic bomb. He said, I don't know. He said, but they'll be using sticks and stones to fight the fourth. World War III has begun. You don't have to believe me. All you have to do is look at the facts. You got this guy that's the prime minister of Poland, Tusk. And he said basically that the pre-war era is over. And we have to prepare for war. I've been getting death threats now because I'm for peace. I can't read the proper language that this person wrote to me. I did a podcast an hour podcast on InfoWars on March 11th. He said, you keep talking the word S, and I mentioned this Polish prime minister about Poland, I'm going to skin you alive and wear your face, you tranny Italian, on and on. Of course, not a tranny, but you call me a faggot, Italian, on and on. I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you. I have 3 of the most historic buildings in the United States. It's the only 4 corners. I'm up in Kingston, New York, where there are pre-Revolutionary War stone buildings. And I have peace rallies, Occupy Peace. I have Judge Napolitano, Scott Ritter, Gary Null, Dennis Kucinich. I'm hated for having peace rallies. One of my buildings, the 1774 Academy, I rent it out. And it's a book and coffee and wine, beer place. They're doing terrific. They locked down. When I had a peace rally, they called it a political rally. It's called Peace and Freedom. How dare I not support the Ukraine war? Look what's going on right in front of everybody's eyes. This is just reported today in The Guardian, the English newspaper. Headline: Congressman calls to bomb Gaza, quote, like Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Isn't that wonderful? Like Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Yeah, you only killed a couple of 100,000 innocent people. The Japanese, the war was almost over, and according to the information, they had agreed to a peace treaty already, but we're going to kill them with atomic bombs. The article goes on. Rather than provide humanitarian aid in Gaza, the U.S. should ensure it is subjected to atomic A Republican said in remarks that were recorded recently at a gathering, quote, he said it would be better spent on supporting Israel, which labeled the United States' greatest ally, arguably in anywhere else in the world. It should be like Nagasaki and Hiroshima, this guy, Tim Wahlberg, said. Yep. He said it would, quote, get it over quick. Isn't that nice? Oh, this guy pretends to be in some kind of an evangelical or some kind of church, a deacon, calling for war. if we don't have, the religions of the world have to unite for peace. This is Easter. This is heartbreaking. Again, I'm a trend forecaster. You go back to our Trends Journal, February 22nd, 2022, 2 days before the Russia invasion. The headline read, "From COVID war to Ukraine war to world war." People don't have a clue what's going on. Let's go back to the Israel war. By the way, this was one of the covers of the Trends Journal back in 2011. The Prince of Peace becoming violent to drive the money changers out of the temple. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. This is your Trends Journal back in 2011. 14. You see how happy that guy is? It's the United States overthrow the democratically elected government of Viktor Yanukovych in Ukraine. Going back to Israel. The UN, they're calling it Israel must open up more land crossings into Gaza for aid, UN top court says. And we're not going to do that at all. And then you go back and you see what this is all about. And it's been going on here. Where's this magazine? Here it is. This is your Trends Journal, Crusades 2006. Regardless of what England's reasons or intentions were, self-serving or otherwise, Crusades 2000 was set in motion by the 1917 Balfour Declaration that laid the foundation for Israel. This is the quote from the Balfour Declaration, brought to you by the Rothschilds. Quote, His Majesty's government views with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. And we will use our best endeavors to facilitate the achievement of this objective. Wait a minute. His Majesty's government? Some murderous crime syndicate from the UK where the sun never sets on the British Empire? Where they slaughter people all over the world to steal everything they can? Oh, how about that report that just came out about how when His Majesty's government took over India for all those years, between the murder, the starvation, and what they were doing, between 200 to 400 people of India were killed. His Majesty's government declares what should be going on in, quote, Palestine. This is stolen land. And I'm not an anti-Semite. Semites are Palestinians, people from the Mesopotamia region. The people that are running Israel are Ashkenazis. They're from northeastern Turkish region beyond. They are not Semites. And as I say, 3 of my last 4 girlfriends were Jewish. My best friend is Jewish, so don't call me an anti-Jew. Just like don't call me an anti-American, because I despise Americans' Iraq wars, Afghanistan wars, the murderous wars. I am an American patriot. That's why I own the most historic 4 corners in America. I bought them because the seeds of democracy was sown in Kingston, New York. Over 70% of America's Constitution comes from the Constitution that was written right across the street over here when Kingston was the first capital of New York State. And then the British burnt it down. I'm saying this because We are on the verge of nuclear annihilation. Look it up. There's something called the Samson, S-A-M-S-O-N option, that Israel says these, by the way, they just stole another 4,000 acres of Palestinian land in the West Bank called, quote, settlements. Not settlements. You're stealing the land, and I don't want to hear you tell me the fairy tale that it says, in the Torah, chapter 6, section 8, that the land belongs to you. It's stolen land. Going back to the Samson option, Israel reportedly has between 200 to 400 nuclear warheads. And they say if they're going to lose this war, they're going to go nuclear. And they're ramping up the war. They just killed some 60 people in Syria over the weekend, in Aleppo. So, that's what I feel like that's going on, that I'm very concerned about, and that we need to do something to unite for peace. You got a bunch of warmongers that are in Congress. And by the way, the definition of genocide, according to the Oxford Dictionary, the deliberate killing of a large number of people from a particular nation or ethnic group with the aim of destroying the nation of the group. And we just heard Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, saying what valuable land this is in Gaza and how the Palestinians should be pushed into the desert and they could develop it. So that's part of what's going on. Here, death toll in Israel's airstrikes on Syria, Aleppo, rise to nearly 60. Aleppo province saw deadliest Israeli attack in years on Friday, when Israeli warplanes hit multiple targets in the Aleppo countryside and targeted Hezbollah warehouses. Hezbollah, oh, those terrorists. You mean terrorists? The people that drove the Israeli army out of Lebanon? Oh, the people are settlers that steal land? So if you were growing up in Algeria and the French were stealing, robbing, and pillaging everything that they could, and you fought to drove them out, well, you're a terrorist. You're a militant. Once upon a time, there was a man by the name of George Washington, a real man that fought in wars across the Delaware. His farewell address: love no foreign nation, hate no foreign nation. Because if you do, you'll become a slave to them. And that's what we've become. Dwight D. Eisenhower, 5-star general, supreme commander of the Allied forces, warns the American people that the military-industrial complex is robbing the nation of the genius of the scientists, the sweat of the laborers, and the future of the children. Here we are. Look who our defense secretary is, Lloyd Austin. Oh, yeah, did a great job murdering people over there as a general in Iraq and Afghanistan. And before I got this job from Biden, I sat on the board of directors of Raytheon, the second largest defense contractor in the United States. It's here for everybody to see what's going on. They're bragging about the jobs that have been created because we keep sending weapons of death to keep bloodying the killing fields in Ukraine and Israel. Oh, and the baloney of that little Chucky Schumer, the senator over here in New York. Oh, Netanyahu, he has to go. Oh, and Biden and all, oh, this is terrible. They just sent more weapons of death to keep slaughtering the Palestinians. It's barely reported. More bombs away. Where is the outrage? Where is the anger? Oh, anger? Another cat, St. Thomas Aquinas. Any person that is not angry when it's morally justifiable to be angry is immoral. I'm heartbroken when I see the slaughter of these people in front of everybody's eyes. Where is the outrage? Yeah, there are people that are protesting. Good for them. Women walking down the street getting punched. People afraid to go out at night. Migrants all over the place. Look, our infrastructure rotting in front of our eyes. But more war, more war. All the religions have to unite for peace. And the people, it's not what God you believe in. It's if you believe in God. Oh, in God we trust on the back of all of the currencies in America? What God you talking about? What God you talking about? What God would support these wars? So that's what's going on, and it's only getting worse. It's only getting worse. People are going broke, can't afford to live, and the big, here we go, U.S. signed off on more bombs and warplanes for Israel, Washington Post reports. This is from March 29th. The U.S. in recent days authorized the transfer of billions of dollars worth of bombs and fighter jets to Israel. Reuters reported on Friday. This is despite Washington's public expressions of concern about an anticipated Israeli military offensive in Rafah. It's all propaganda with this little Chucky Schumer. Israel is not my country. I am an American. No, I'm not an isolationist. These wars have been going on for centuries. Occupy peace. Bring home the troops. Secure the homeland. Rebuild our rotted infrastructure. Rather than stealing our money of over $1 trillion a year to go to the military-industrial complex, let's rebuild America. Let's put the people to work like they did during the Work Progress Administration to build the Hoover dams and these wonderful bridges, rather than stealing our money to slaughter innocent people. Can you imagine if you were living in Gaza right now? What a happy time you'd be having. Oh, we're doing this to get Hamas. Who are you talking to? I'm not 6 years old. Destroying all the hospitals so they can't heal the people that are being wounded. Bombing schools to ruin. Over 70% of the people's homes destroyed. Oh, Hamas was living in those homes. What am I, 6 years old? Who are you talking to? So there we are. Easter. The Prince of Peace. The Prince of Peace. And I'm a warrior for the Prince of Peace. Yep. I fight for peace. Again, the Prince of Peace made a whip to drive the money changers out of the temple. And the same money changers that he drove out of the temple. And what happens? 3 days later, he's on the cross. The same money changers are in charge today. Not one penny for peace from the billionaires. Not a cent. Not a cent. Where are the Buffetts? They got lockjaw? I used to rent one of my buildings to Warren Buffett's son. He doesn't even say hello to me. I'm a little guinea from the Bronx. Not a penny for peace. Where are all the billionaires putting a penny for peace? Nothing. 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 All we want is more money. The billionaires keep getting richer. And as I say, all we become are plantation workers of Slavelandia. We get poorer. When I was a young guy, they had grocery stores, hardware stores, stationery stores, drug stores. Yep. Now, grocery chains, drug chains, hardware chains, put them all out of business. Let the bigs own everything. Yeah. That's what's going on. We need a revolution of peace, an evolution, a renaissance. Come back to the higher level of life. Rather than the clown show it's become and the freaks that are running the clown show. A democracy. Try running for office. If you don't get money from the bigs, you go nowhere. You go nowhere. Look at the clown show. They little Beto O'Rourke over there in Texas. $100 million to run for governor to lose. Stacey Adams over there in Georgia. $100 million to lose. I'm making the point. They're all clowns to me, both parties. I was the assistant to the Secretary of the New York State Senate. I ran major political campaigns, on and on. I've been with presidents, prime ministers, and princes. It's a freak show on both sides. It's a crime syndicate. They're murderers and thieves. I'm only mentioning about the money. This isn't a democracy anymore. It's owned and controlled by the bigs. We have to put back the Robinson-Patman Act, Sherman Antitrust Act, Clayton Antitrust Act, Glass-Steagall Act, that didn't allow the bigs to own everything. We have to rebuild America, become a self-sustaining nation. That's how, to me, the only way we come back is to bring back the spirit of America, the true spirit, not the one that's been stolen from us. So thank you for having me. Yes, I'm angry, I'm sad, because I see the future, and it doesn't make me very happy. It makes me very sad. I want to see an evolution of society, go to higher levels rather than keep going down the drain as we're going down. Bring up the spirit of the human people. Rise to the higher level, God, that you believe in. Country. And I went to Berlin. I did a talk out there in 2012. Berlin was grander than Paris before it was bombed out. The Germans were at the height of Western civilization in the 1930s, culturally, philosophically, scientifically. I'm saying to myself, why didn't the people stop this? It was grander than Paris again. It was beautiful. All you see now, beautiful old buildings and all new buildings. Where were the people to stop it? You're losing. You're losing. Where were the people to stop it? And we're at the same position right now. Where are the people to stop it? So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Salente. My name is Katan, and I'm here with Jeff. Hopefully you can see us here. We very much appreciate your moral stance, and you're having the backbone to stand up and support and fight for what many people in society greatly desire, but they don't have the the inertia to move forward in making these things known to the public, and there is a lot of pushback for it. You read a letter that someone had wrote you concerning some of the things you speak about and how they use some pretty vile and foul language towards you. My question is, why do you think that there is such a hatred against people or organizations that push towards and promote peace?
You know, it's the decline of the human spirit. You know, what's your favorite war? The Peloponnesian War? How about the 100-Year War? What about the War of Roses? Wasn't that lovely? You know, I have a chart that someone gave me. It's Napoleon's march to Moscow in 1812. He leaves Poland with 420,000 troops, young guys. Came back with 10,000. World War II is in ancient history. Operation Barbarossa, they killed over 25 million Russians. Germany. Vietnam War, the time when I grew up. What did we kill? Over 3.5 million Vietnamese. 60,000 Americans, 250,000 seriously wounded. Leave the Iraq War. There's one of my books. It's called What Zizzi, Z-I-Z-I, gave Honey Boy. And unfortunately, it came out right at 9/11. And they made a movie of it. There used to be a TV show called Everyone Loves Raymond. And Doris Roberts, the woman that played the mother, played my Aunt Zizzi. Zizzi is the Neapolitan dialect for auntie. And you could see 15 minutes of the movie if you go on YouTube. It's called Zizzi, Z-I-Z-I, and Honey Boy. Zia is the Italian word for aunt. Zizzi is your auntie. And the movie opens up about how I was blacklisted on all the media. I used to be on Oprah, the Today Show, Good Morning. I used to be on everybody. And when USA Today was a big newspaper, they used to run my top trends every year. And the headline in December of 2000 to 2001 was 2001 won't be our year, Trendseer says. And I warned that a wave of anti-Americanism was sweeping the globe and Americans wouldn't be safe at home or abroad. It was before 9/11. They asked me, how did I know this was going to happen? I says, because of all the people that America's killing all over the world. Go back. Google it up. YouTube. Madeleine Albright. Leslie Stahl. Madeleine Albright asked Leslie Stahl, is the price of 500,000 Iraqi children under the age of 5 worth the price, the death of them, because of what Bill Clinton did to Iraq? And Madeleine Albright says, yes, it is. They banned me from the media. I went broke. I was one day away from losing the building that I'm in now in 2007. I got blacklisted from everybody. Because I said America has no business going into Afghanistan. I write only the facts. The Taliban said, no, we had nothing to do with this. We'd like to talk to you about this. And Bush said, we have no time to talk. I'm a little daddy's boy. I'm born on third base. I thought I had a home run. I'm a little loser. We're going to get that guy Osama bin Laden dead or alive. And you ask me about the people? 88% of the people swallow the garbage coming out of that little boy of nothing's mouth. 88%. I didn't get back into the media until I came out with the Panic of 08 in 2007. Then I got back in, and things boomed again. You know why? Because it was about money. Oh, yeah, what's going on? We got to find out more about what's going on in the economy and the stock markets. Peace? Go to hell. Go to hell if you want peace. And here's the other thing. None of these little boys out there are fighters. But they love to kill people. Can you imagine little Lindsey Graham in a fight? One little clown boy after another. Oh, I'm Tom Cotton. I was in the Marine. Take it easy, Junior. How about protecting America? So that's why the people don't have the courage.
Thank you. Mr. Salente, you mentioned 9/11. It was at that time that the author of The Peaceful Solution wrote an editorial that was published in the USA Today magazine, and he said at the time, okay, you can't hear me? Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, I can speak up if need be. You mentioned 9/11, and at that time, the author of The Peaceful Solution, Yishra Hawkins, he wrote an editorial in the USA Today encouraging America that there is a peaceful solution to this problem. We don't have to go to war. We don't have to retaliate. So we appreciate your insight, and we share your very compassionate and passionate views that you have for seeking ways of peace. And I can assure you, Mr. Salente, that those death threats that you're receiving, that's going to build you a very, very strong character. So continue to keep up the great work that you're doing. It's amazing to see someone like yourself that shares so much of the same views that we at the Peaceful Solution have. You mentioned you're a trends forecaster. You're one of the best. You're one of the experts. You said that the seeds that we plant today are basically what we're going to reap tomorrow. And I want to just, if I could, for a minute, jump over to the national debt. Could we jump into that for a second? And, okay, so some people think that, hey, as long as we have a super strong economy, you know, we can lift this heavy burden of the national debt, and it's not going to cause any problems. But, you know, you mentioned we need to build America, and we're not going to continue to build America on spending more than we're bringing in. So I just wanted to briefly get your thoughts on that. What is the solution that you have for the national debt?
There's no solution for the national debt. It's only going to get worse. The national debt is building by $1 trillion every 100 days. $1 trillion every 100 days. America's become the country our founding fathers fought against. The UK, Great Britain. What brought Great Britain down? All of their wars. End of World War I, the pound died, and that was the beginning of the dollar. So we're in the same situation now. Who could run a business with $35 trillion worth of debt and saying we could keep going on and keep building the economy? It's a joke. So again, you know, we talk about, you know, I'm talking about, because this is Easter and talking about peace, but here's the deal with the economy. We're going to have a banking crisis coming soon. Because of the COVID war, they locked down the nation, forced people to work at home. After people are working at home, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, they're saying to themselves, I was getting up at 5:30 in the morning to commute an hour and a half each way. I'm not doing that anymore. Now, let's say I'm the guy that has 10 stories of an office building. I got everybody in cubicles. I don't see them anyway. Yes, stay home. I don't need all this office space. I'm going back to the dollar. I'm going back to the economy. I'm going back to the debt level. America is on the verge of collapse. Your office vacancy rate, meaning nobody in the buildings, empty. Over in Portland, which used to be a thriving place, it's nearly 30%. New York City, vacant, nobody there, 23%. On average, the 10 largest cities in America, it's over 20%. That's vacancy rates, occupancy rates, people going back to work. According to Castle Systems with a K, 50.6% of the people gone back to work. The owners of the buildings are going to be defaulting on loans. The latest data shows that 200 and almost 300 banks are in deep trouble from defaulted commercial real estate loans. Then you go back to all the businesses that used to depend on commuters that aren't doing business anymore. When I was a young guy, it was, Friday, it was happy hour time. Friday now is one of the least days people go back to work. Go back to the debt crisis. It's not only going to be national, it's going to be city, state, and national. Because now there's going to be huge amounts of delinquencies on loans. They're not going to be able to get the tax dollars. As a matter of fact, New York City has just hit a record delinquency loan rate. This is not being reported, barely being reported. So going back to the national debt, here's my fear. When all else fails, they take you to war. Let's go back to the Great Depression. What followed it? World War II. Don't believe me? Go to History Today, mainstream site. In July of 1941, President Franklin Roosevelt seized all Japanese assets. In July, he seized all Japanese assets, and the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor in December, July, August, September, October, November, December, 5 months later. How come he seized those assets? Why? Well, those dirty Japanese, they invaded French Indochina. Hey, I'm an American. What do I care about the Japanese going into French Indochina? And what are the French doing in Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos? Oh, they're stealing their tin, their rubber, pillage, rape, steal. Oh, yeah. Oh, and then Great Britain and the Dutch put sanctions on the Japanese, and they cut off 3/4 of their global trade and 88% of their oil. Japan imports 100%. Can't understand why they bombed Pearl Harbor. Hey, what preceded the 9/11? The dot-com bust. Matter of fact, right here in your Trends Journal, it's someplace we had forecasted dot-com bust. Dot-com this in October of 1999. Said it bust by the second quarter of 2000. Little Georgie Bush's ratings were in the toilet. America was in a terrible recession. 9/11 happens, forget about it. Oh, and they had the phony real estate market. Don't have a job, deep in debt, don't worry about it. Here's a subprime mortgage. Oh, and then, by the way, putting all things together and going back to the debt crisis, the Federal Reserve bail out the bankster bandits. $29 trillion, according to the Levy Institute at Bard College. So going back, when all else fails, they take you to war. We are on the verge of an economic failure. Just like the people forgot about the dot-com bust and couldn't stand Georgie Bush, they supported him. They'll do the same thing again. By the way, let's go back to Israel. Again, writing about it week after week after week after week in your Trends Journal. The Netanyahu government came in 2022. December. Not my language, language in mainstream media, extreme right-wing government. There were 39 weeks of protests going on in Israel before Hamas attacked on October 7th. The president of Israel, Isaac Herzog, said there's a civil war going on in Israel. 39 weeks of major protests because of Netanyahu's Judicial Reform Act that said, yeah, I'm being brought up on charges, corruption charges, but with the Judicial Reform Act, they can't do it to me. 39 weeks of protests. Hamas attack, totally forgotten. When all else fails, they take you to war.
Yes, Mr. Celente, I mean, you have so much information, and we had to pull in the second string to, okay. You have so much information that we had to pull in the second string. So my name is Nana Ashong. I'm a representative of the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program from Africa. I wanted to ask you, can you hear us? Can you hear us? Can you hear us fairly well? Okay, I wanted to ask you, what do you think about the conflicts in Haiti at this particular point, and how do they relate to what's going on globally?
I mean, we could go back to the French. How far back do we have to go before all the colonists going in there and slaughtering, robbing, stealing, and destroying the country? Oh, and there's a great guy by the name of, what was his name? Smedley Butler. War's a racket. Yeah, top-rated military guy. War's a racket. Talks about how they destroyed Haiti and on and on and on. So now let's go back to Haiti, but let's look at the whole situation of the migrant crisis you got going on, because it all ties together. In 2019, there were protests going on around the world. The Yellow Vests in France, Lebanon, Algeria, South Africa, Chile, Bolivia, Colombia, all over the world. People were taking to the streets because of the lack of basic living standards, government corruption, crime, violence. Then what happens? India. The COVID war breaks out. Get into your house. You can't protest anymore. The COVID war I mentioned about what's going on in the real estate market, in commercial real estate because of the lockdowns. The damage that's been done by the COVID lockdowns has destroyed the lives and livelihoods of billions of people across the planet. They're escaping lack of basic living standards, crime, government corruption, violence. It's only going to get worse. Again, the bigs own everything. Here, the numbers. 1% out of 8 billion people own 43% of the equities of the world. In the U.S., 1% own 54% of the stocks and equities. 1% own 54%. And if you put the 10% in, 90%. Now you go to other countries, it's bad here, it's worse there. So this isn't going to stop. Haiti is just an example of the worst of what's going to come. And again, you could thank the Clintons, you could thank everybody down the line for bringing the crises that have erupted there. Thieves, murderers and thieves. That's all they are. Again, by their deeds you shall know them. I mentioned the $29 trillion to bail out the bankster bandits. If they're thieves, and how many more wars? They're murderers. So that's who's in control. And it's around the world. You know, going back to Eisenhower, he said any man seeking the office of president, he was the president of Columbia University. He didn't want to run for office. He said any man seeking the office of president is either an egomaniac or crazy. And that's the people running government. Again, I was the assistant to the secretary of the New York State Senate. I quit. I quit after 1 year. Again, I'm a guy that grew up in the Bronx, you know. My mother, may she rest in peace, when an incident would break out, and I didn't even know what the word meant. She'd say to me, I hate cowards. When I'm up in the Senate, I'm a young guy, 26 years old. We were standing in the back of the chamber, and they got this guy opening the door. Senator Tom Jones, Senator Frank McNeil. I said, guys, what's the matter? These guys can't, what is this? This guy, they got to open the door for them. And then my friends would leave me and walk over, follow the senator's seat, pull it back. You could blow on these chairs, they'd move. Pull it back and help him sit down. My friends would come back. I'd say, man, what's the matter? A cat can't sit down by himself. He needs some help. You know, Gerald, you have that kind of an attitude. You're not going to make it here. I said, listen, man, this ain't my trip, man. I wasn't born to, suck my way up to the top. That's all they are. That's what's running the government. The people I hated in high school and college that wanted to be class president, the head of the student council. And the bureaucrats are the people that can't get a job in the real world. And they become the worst of everybody. So that's what's going on. And it's Haiti. It's all over. It's every country.
Mr. Salente, my name is Chris Heiler, and I'm the International Director of the Peaceful Solution, and I want to, once again, thank you very much, because you are a friend to the Peaceful Solution, 100%. The author of the Peaceful Solution referred to your work many times over the years. And he would always say, listen to this guy. He knows something. He knows what he's talking about when he talks about these trends, so pay attention to what he says. There was one thing that he was very passionate about, and it was warning the world of, as what you stated earlier, the dangers of a nuclear war that are really facing us right now. My question is, and for an average person like myself, so we can understand, is why we're asking. You know, years ago, RT reported on the Sophie Shevardnadze show that with technology, you could actually have an all-out nuclear war in less than an hour. A nuclear exchange with missiles between the United States and Russia would take less than an hour. With everyone saying no one wins a war, who is the ones that are pushing this disaster where there's no reward left in the end? What does someone seek to win? What is the goal they seek to accomplish when they're looking to annihilate everything?
You don't ask a murderer what their purpose is. These are mentally deranged people that are running the country. You know, again, they're nuts. They're out of their mind. They're narcissistic freaks, sociopathic, narcissistic, arrogant. They only care about them. They're crazy. They're crazy people. They're mentally ill.
The scary part is that they're voted in office. That's what's scaring me. I want to conclude because we've taken a lot of your time today, and I know today is a very busy day for you, and I can't thank you enough for joining us. And the Peaceful Solution looks very much ahead in working with the Occupied Peace and Freedom campaign. We know that peace is possible, And we know that it takes backbone, it takes courage, it takes people like yourself, like the author of The Peaceful Solution, and like many people around the world that truly want to make a difference. And I understand what you mean when you talk about the jesters, the leaders of countries. We've been many times to speak with leaders, and peace is not something they're interested in because peace doesn't make money. We know that, you know that. In fact, people don't even want to pay for peace. They don't even want to help support the efforts of peace. So I want you to know, I'll give you an opportunity to say some final words, but always remember, you are a friend to us forever.
Thank you. And I have to tell you how honored I am to be on with you, and I'm so thankful for all that you're doing. So here's what I suggest to everybody. Let's go back again, just to show you something here. This is the first book I worked on. It's called Natural Healing. So here's the message, as I see it. And again, the motto of the Trends Journal is think for yourself. That was my father when I start repeating what everybody else was saying, may he rest in peace. He'd say to me, Papagallo, parrot, stop repeating what everybody else is saying and think for yourself. So going back, first again, thank you all for what you're doing. And this is the way I see it could change. Trend forecasting, all things are connected. Or as Chief Seattle said, all things are connected like the blood which unites us all. Let's go back to the COVID war. There was never a moment, again, I worked on the book Natural Healing. And making a very long story short, my former wife, may she rest in peace, had severe colitis. And at 27 years old, they're going to take out her anus and put it in a bag. And I went on a whole journey, this is back in the early 80s, of finding a solution. And chiropractors knew more than anybody. She got totally healed. So going back to the COVID war. When COVID broke out, again, the Trends Journal, we put data in there. We say, this is what they're reporting. Here's the data. Then we give our trends analysis and trend forecasts. So you know it's not propaganda. This is what's being reported. So the first country to lock down, Italy. The average age of the people dying in Italy was 81 years old. Then, when it hits America, where did it hit? Kirkland, Washington. What's a Kirkland, Washington? Where's that? Oh, it's up in Washington, state of Washington. Hit a nursing home. Oh, people in a nursing home are dying? Again, you look at the CDC data. 94% of the people that died had what? About 2.6 pre-existing comorbidities. They forced young people between the ages of 1 to 17, stay home, get a shot, blah, 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 blah. There's 73 million 1 to 17-year-olds. Out of 73 million, they stopped reporting the data in June of 2023. Out of 73 million, 1,912 died of COVID. And according to the CDC, 61% were obese. Going back to what do we do? Again, knock on wood, I haven't been sick, haven't had a cold in 5 years. I work out, I eat well, I take vitamins and supplements. How can we change it? The only way I see us changing it is for every American that loves their country, the land of opportunity, how blessed we will be born here, is to get in the best shape you can. Physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And I want to make this clear. I pulled a lot of crap in my life, man. You know, I was killing environmental legislation at the height of the environmental movement. I was the number 2 guy running a major trade association. In the 1970s, I was killing environmental legislation. I pulled my crap. But to me, life is growing up and keep learning and keep learning and keep learning and keep learning. I've never worked harder in my life. And you can't stop learning. And it's an evolution. You're not the same as when I was a kid, my father, we'd be eating dinner. I'll never forget. I was about 17 years old. And he looked at me. He said, son, he said that youth is wasted on the young. He took a couple of more bites and he said, they were talking about you. You're growing up. You're a kid. You get brainwashed by the garbage that you see around you, and you do stupid stuff. So it's a growing up process. So I'm asking everybody to get in the best shape you can, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Rise to the highest level of the God you believe in. And again, we all pull our crap, so let it go and move on and get higher. And thank you again for all you do. I so much appreciate being with you. And to me, I have to say to you, this is a very blessed Easter for me, having the opportunity of doing this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Celente. Everyone, Gerald.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Women.
For Mr. Celente joining us today. Without any further delay, we'd like to turn it back over to our partners in peace. Still in awe of Mr. Celente, so let's give him a few minutes. If everybody could just remain calm.
is the United States on the brink of an all-out war in the Middle East?
Well, I think leadership makes a difference, Paul, and what we do in the next month or two or three will determine whether we are actually going to have an all-out war.
Every day I wake up with choices to make. What to do, where to go, how to act, how to be strong. How do I know the right way to behave when everything keeps changing? Our world is in trouble, it's drowning in chaos. Another conflict from not knowing who to trust. I just want to walk down the road and know I am safe, not fearing as I lay in my bed. My life is at stake. There's no safe place where I live globally. Planes, gunshots, yelling. Silence is weighing heavy on me. I don't want to be hated for my ethnicity. This isn't the future I seek. How can we make peace a reality? Step by step, like Hannah said, we're assessing the situation, admitting we need to make a change, laying the foundation with a peaceful solution, character education program. This is how we will stop all wars, the ones in our minds and the global ones. Society didn't get this way in one day. It won't be fixed in one night. Step by step, like 1, 2, 3. We are fathers, mothers, sisters, brothers, children, and neighbors. ODPT mawazo hisiana vitendo. Iyo UDPT wa hakika. Hasira kwetu kawaida. Hofu, wasiwasi, hisia pia. Kuzingatia uamuzi wa busara. Take a moment to educate and learn. Show empathy, put yourself in others' shoes. Be thankful although it's something you might not choose. Be humble, forget, yes we all make mistakes. Create a safe place, behave morally. Patience and honesty are part of developing integrity. We're all one family. There's really no difference between you and me. Somos padres, madres, hermanas, hermanos, hijos y vecinos. Mostremos respeto, cuidado y preocupación. Respeto por tu lado, la vida, medicina, no tu lado. No importa de dónde seas o dónde naciste, se te debe mostrar respeto. Tayo mga tatay, nanay, kapatid, mga bata, kapitbahay. Pagsubok, paghihirap ay darating. Inihahanda ng aming mga isipan. Nanindigan para sa kung ano napatunayang tama. Kahit tayo lang natin ang naninindigan, may karunungan, kalaman at plano sees number rally. Started as a dream, now peace is becoming a reality for all humanity. Using the tools we have learned, the only way it won't work is if you refuse it. Two wrongs don't make a right, so don't join in the fight. Responsible choices start with me and you, it starts with us. Together we're becoming a global family of peace.
The Peaceful Solution has allowed me to give myself something to measure up to see what I need to improve on and where I have improved. I'm thankful to my teachers for teaching me this wonderful program, and I'm also thankful to the friends that I get to share this with, because their stories and their determination has helped me to stay on the road of the Peaceful Solution.
When I learned from the Peaceful Solution that not forgiving others is like drinking poison and waiting for them to die, that woke me up real quick. Keeping malice and anger is more hurtful to me. So now I am so quick to forgive and to move on, even if they refuse to acknowledge that they have wronged me. Talk less of asking for forgiveness. Now I know forgiveness is all about me and my peace of mind than it is for the other person. And I'm so thankful to the Peaceful Solution teachers who have helped me to see life and conflict from this perspective.
Through learning the Peaceful Solution, I now have peace in my home. It is not perfect, but because I have been trying hard to be the Peaceful Solution, even my daughter who isn't learning the program, I have noticed a change in her behavior, because as I have been taught, I have to become the example.
Well, welcome everyone once again to another annual Peaceful Solution Day of Hope, Day of Joy, Day of looking into the future with great anticipation. I'm honored to be here as one of the many Peaceful Solution representatives, as I know all of you are. Let's give that video one more round of applause. You know, and the video talks about a very simple process of changing who we are on the inside to make a difference with everyone else we meet, because we are working from the standpoint of the peaceful solution. And that's really what it's about. It's simple. In fact, the founder and author of the Peaceful Solution once said, there's only one way the peaceful solution will not work for you, and that is if you refuse to use it. Now, having said that, it takes effort. It takes effort on the part of the individual to make conscientious choices about what we do, what we think, how we relate to others. And that's not always easy. It means always being cognizant of what our thoughts are, not just towards others, but also towards ourselves. It means being cognizant of how we feel towards ourselves and towards others. It means being cognizant of how we behave towards ourselves and also towards others. The fact that we are interdependent, the fact that we need others. People need people. Do we all agree? Yes, indeed. People need people. And every act that we have affects others profoundly. And it can affect others in either a positive way or a negative way, leading to consequences or rewards. When I was 9 years old, I was in Glee Club. One of the songs that we sang that year was called No Man is an Island. Now, many years have gone by since then, but that song stays in my mind. And the words are, no man is an island, no man stands alone. Each man's joy is joy to me, each man's grief is my own. And the last stanza is, when I help my brother, I know that I plant a seed of friendship that will never die. And this is what the peaceful solution is about. It's about planting seeds, seeds of compassion, of respect, of humility, that's able to grow in the mind and hearts of others. And here's the nice thing about it. Once we plant those seeds in others, those seeds will then grow. And that person can now go forth and plant additional seeds of compassion and growth and hope in the minds and hearts of others, within their consciousness. Now, not all seeds grow at the same rate. It's no different if you plant a tomato seed. You can plant a whole bunch of tomato seeds. Some will come up and some won't, not right away. Have you ever planted a seed and you gave up on it thinking, true? And then, you keep watering it because you have hope. And then one day, all of a sudden, there's that seed, it's blooming, and you're amazed. Well, it's the same thing with people. We can't ever give up. We can't ever decide, oh, we're not seeing the fruition of our works. The peaceful solution is powerful, and it's ongoing. And we always have to keep that in mind. Someone once said, a simple act of compassion can change a person's life, and that person can go on to change the world for the better. So we can't ever underestimate the power of teachers, because each and every person in this room who is a representative of the peaceful solution is also a teacher. Give yourselves a round of applause. Our lineup of speakers today have all been students of the peaceful solution their whole lives. The knowledge and application of the peaceful solution has now enabled them to plant seeds of morality into the hearts and minds of others. So keep that in mind as you listen to their speeches, because they now have the potential to change the world. And with this, I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to the youth video.
Hi, my name's Abby, and I'm 17.
Hi, I'm Joy, and I'm 14.
Hi, I'm Shiva, and I'm 14. Hi, I'm Gloria. I'm 15.
Our youth, the future of this planet. What's in store for the future, you might ask? They've answered it for us.
Cyberbullying, school shootings, self-harm, depression.
One negative choice can cost you your life. Anger doesn't solve anything. It builds nothing, but it can destroy everything.
Words can hurt, and what you say can influence a person's choices for the rest of their life.
Uncontrolled anger can lead to violent actions which can follow you like a shadow for the rest of your life. Because the negative choice can ripple out and affect you and other people. Self-control is the foundation of building all positive moral character.
So, the lack thereof promotes every problem that exists. Children want to be seen, heard, valued, wanted, but just how much are we worth as human beings? What can it be measured by? Talent, skill, or physical attraction? Can poor intellect or character flaws diminish one's worth? Problems we face in our youth, if not dealt with properly, continue to manifest into adulthood.
As teens, we constantly hear people say we know it all. We never listen or take their advice.
Yeah, I might say I don't care what others think of me, but really I'm just struggling to figure out what's true.
Every day we're going to face changes and learn new things.
Stay tuned to see how our youth use the peaceful solution to live the moral way.
Hi everyone. I have been a student of the Peaceful Solution Character Education program my whole life. I have a big family and we all practice the Peaceful Solution by asking permission. We practice respect for each other by asking permission before touching or using each other's belongings. If we have a conflict that we can't solve, Mom helps us so that we can make the right choices and find a peaceful solution. I practice a peaceful solution every day at school as well. I follow the rules and show respect to my friends and all my teachers. I did have one incident that occurred recently that really made me feel glad I know and practice the peaceful solution. One day after class, I returned from the playground. I realized that my pencil case was no longer on my desk. I looked at the floor thinking maybe it had fallen, but it wasn't there. I thought that someone must have stolen it, and it made me feel upset that I couldn't trust the people in my class. I really had to stop and think about the best way to handle the situation. I thought about going directly to the teacher, but I decided to try and deal with the situation myself. After all, I have been learning and practicing the peaceful solution all my life. I thought about all the lessons I had been taught. I decided to respectfully talk to the person I thought had taken my pencil case. Rather than accusing her, I said, "Hey, I thought I left my pencil case on my desk, and now I can't find it. Did you notice it anywhere?" She looked a little surprised and then asked me if my pencil case was pink with poppets. She said she thought the pencil case was hers because she has one just like it. In fact, she thought I had taken her case. She apologized and gave it back. We actually laughed about it. I realized I had forgotten to put my name on my pencil case, and she told me that she didn't put her name on hers either. It was then I remembered about a lesson in the elementary series, Unit 1 Ownership, called Who Does This Belong To? It's a lesson about the importance of putting your name on your belongings because people have identical items. I learned that the peaceful solution really does work. I practiced the peaceful solution at home, but I didn't realize that those lessons can be used at school too. By practicing the peaceful solution, I avoided an argument and actually made a friend. When I told my mom what had occurred in school that day, she said, "You can't go wrong by practicing the peaceful solution." I hope you make the peaceful solution a part of your life too, because it really does help if you apply it.
Hi everyone, my name is Jewel. The title of my speech is Words, a Weapon or a Wonder. I'm sure we all know that if you throw a rock into a pond, you can see it ripple out. But what about the part you can't see? How deep did that rock go? What did it hit on its way down? So today, I'm going to be talking about our words and how deeply they can affect others. Oftentimes when we're talking, especially with our friends or people we're comfortable with, we tend to blurt out the first thing that comes to mind without even thinking twice about it. Which brings to mind the STOP acronym, which is Stop, Think, Options, Proceed with the Right Choice. The reason why this acronym is so important in conversations is because once you say it, there's no taking it back. For example, let's say you grab a plate and drop it on the floor. Obviously, it's going to break, and no matter how many times you say sorry to it, it's not going to go back to the way it was before. That's the effect negative words can have. People, including myself, often take for granted the power we have with our words. One negative thing that we could have said to someone because we were having a bad day could have been that someone's last straw. I found this article online that says 20%, 1 out of every 5 middle and high school students, report being bullied each year. People use their words to bully others. Youth who are bullied are at increased risk for depression, anxiety, sleep difficulties, lower academic achievement, and dropping out of school. Another article says kids who are bullied and those who bully others face higher risks of suicidal thoughts and actions. This is true whether bullying occurs face-to-face or online, which is cyberbullying. A 2021 study found that adolescents who were bullied online were roughly 12 times more likely to have suicidal thoughts than peers who were not. Those are all people who think that it would be easier to take their lives and affect so many people than have to deal with the very powerful, very hurtful words others are saying to them. And those are the people who get bullied intentionally. Imagine all of the people you've probably hurt with your words and didn't even realize it. The tricky thing about that is you never really know what's going on inside someone else's brain, and every person is different. So while you could joke around a certain way with a million different people and they wouldn't care, there might be one person that does care, that does think twice about the jokes that you're making, and that doesn't find it funny. For example, me and a few other people were working on a project a little while ago, And one of the people that were there randomly walked up to me and said something really rude and unnecessary. But she meant it as a joke. I didn't take it that way, and it actually did hurt my feelings. What stuck out to me about the situation is that person says things like that to a lot of people, and they laugh, joke around, and don't think twice about it, which is probably why she thought she could do the same thing with me. Eventually, we worked it out, and now she knows what types of things I'm not really okay with. And as someone who likes to laugh and joke a lot with people, I thought it was a really important lesson to learn that what some people might laugh at, others might find offensive, or just pointless. And just because you didn't say something offensive doesn't mean someone can't get offended. So something to keep in mind is that everyone's different, and while you might not think twice about it, some people will. And also, now that we know this person doesn't like these types of jokes, we can make sure not to say those types of things around them. That's a way you can show respect, keep peace, and protect your own and others' feelings. Now, positive words can affect people just as much. One positive sentence you could have said to someone just because could have stuck with that person for a very long time. One simple compliment can make someone's entire mood, even day, better. Just taking the time to say to someone, "I appreciate you, I acknowledge your efforts," or "You're doing a great job," can make amazing changes in someone's mood and behavior. There are definitely a few situations where I can say I was having a bad day or I was in a bad mood, and someone complimented me or took the time to ask if I was doing okay, and it shifted my entire focus and really did make me feel better. Even when I'm busy at work and someone says, "You're doing a great job," or "I really appreciate that you did that," it makes everything I did to complete that task worthwhile. You might not think that one compliment or one sentence will really stick with someone, but you'd be surprised. A few years ago, when I was about 8 or 9, we were going over a subject at school, and I remember feeling like a really big outsider at the time. And the teacher looked at me, clearly saw my discomfort, and said something that made me feel really special. I had no idea that what she said would stick with me for this long, but I can safely say that it had a huge positive effect on me, and in certain situations, I'll look back at that moment and smile. The funny thing is, the teacher probably doesn't even remember that situation, and I doubt that she had any idea that it would stick with me, but it did. Now, of course, we don't have to wait around for someone to come and change our lives with one positive sentence. We can be saying these things to ourselves every day, which is called a positive affirmation. Positive affirmations are positive phrases or statements used to challenge negative or unhelpful thoughts. They help you disrupt negative thinking habits and build a new route in your brain for positive thoughts. Here are some positive affirmations that you can be saying to yourself every day. Number 1, today is filled with possibility. Number 2, I am strong enough to overcome challenges. Number 3, I am doing my best and that is enough. Number 4, I can do anything I put my mind to. Number 5, I am grateful for all that I have and all that is yet to come. And those are just to name a few. In conclusion, I'm going to read a poem from the Respect Book, Teacher's Manual, found on page 59, entitled, "Kind Words Show Respect." Words are important and do affect us. They are bricks. They build and form us. They are like seeds. That, when planted, will grow. And in time, love and respect they do show. Kind words show respect to others. They can make enemies become brothers. And with this, I'll turn over to the next speaker.
Hi everyone, how's everybody doing today? And to those who are also watching right now from the Philippines, kumusta kayong lahat dyan, labi na gitong mga taga Cebu? And the title of my speech is Asking, Is It Really Necessary? I just want to share with you my experience in learning the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program from the beginning until this very day. I started learning about the Peaceful Solution in the Philippines because that is where I am from. Before coming to the US, the Peaceful Solution was introduced to me and my friends through Skype. We gathered in Skype once a week to learn. We had fun and looked forward to our Peaceful Solution time. Now, who among you also joined Skype before coming here or studied the Peaceful Solution through the Skype program? Raise your hand. I see hands. During that time, we only studied a portion of certain books, for example, the character unit. We were just given topics to study during the week and discuss it at class. And when I moved here, I was excited to join the Peaceful Solution class. And we really started from the beginning. We started studying the early learning book, the elementary series, and then the intermediate series. Building Moral Excellence, Parenting, and Workplace. In the elementary series, we have this acronym so we can easily remember the series of the book. Who remembers the acronym and its meaning? Anyone? For time's sake, it's ORASH. Ownership, respect, asking, self-control, honesty, do not steal. In retrospect, I realized that the concept that I most overlooked were asking and respect. And I became aware of this by studying the elementary series. Yes, adults can also learn from kindergarten through the 5th grade books because they are so basic. I thought that stealing meant taking someone's physical belongings only. I didn't know that you can steal the right of someone to decide about what they own. Most people didn't realize this. Looking back, I did a lot of stealing. I didn't take anyone's belongings, but I did make decisions that I didn't have the right or authority to make. And I did use things that I didn't have permission to use. I remember when I was still working in the Philippines years ago, I usually got really busy every end of the month to meet my deadlines. It was already late in the evening, I was still not done with my work. So I decided to just stay in the office till midnight so I can finish. I ended up spending the night as well because it's safer in the office than going home in the middle of the night because I didn't have my own right. The thing was, I didn't ask permission first from the management to spend the night there. The intention was great, but I should have let them know at least. But I didn't. I never said a word. In my mind, I thought I did a great thing. I patted myself on the back because I had met my deadlines. Yoo-hoo! And there was a time also a friend of mine sent me something online that I really wanted to print. Since I didn't have a printer of my own until now, I brought my own copy papers and used the printer in the office. I thought it was okay since I brought my own papers, right? Wrong. Once again, I didn't ask permission first from the management, and besides, ink is much more expensive than copy papers, just so you know. But I think you know that, right? I'm pretty sure if I had asked permission from the management, they would have allowed me to do so because they were kind to me and to all of the employees. We were like a big family. But you know what? No matter how kind our employer is to us, we should never abuse their kindness by usurping their authority or using items in the office without their permission. Instead, we should respect the rules and remember to ask. By the way, the word usurp means to use without authority or right, from the Moral Excellence in the Workplace book, page 131. I am thankful to the Peaceful Solution for teaching me that there is more than one aspect to stealing. I thought I was honest before, but now I can say that with the Peaceful Solution, I have learned true honesty. I am pleased to say that I now ask permission before taking or touching anything that does not belong to me. What I have learned, I now teach others through my example. In Building Moral Excellence, page 2, it states that for our society and world to change, each individual must begin valuing, developing, and maintaining a positive character. In this way, everyone will do their part to respect and treat others with concern and compassion. So, let me ask you once again, is it really necessary to ask? The answer is a resounding yes. And with that, I'll turn you over to the next speaker.
See it? What? Got it. Welcome to the first edition of Peaceful Solution Network News, also known as PSNN. I'm Sheba Alexander.
And I'm Abby Heimerman.
Bringing you news as it relates to the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program. Today we're going to take a closer look at the emotion of anger. Anger is a complex emotion characterized by feelings of irritation, frustration, or hostility. It often arises in response to perceived threats, injustice, or obstacles to our goals. Anger can vary in intensity from mild irritation to intense rage.
I saw an article that fits in with that intense rage from last year. It says,
Argument over Christmas present leads Florida teen to fatally shoot sister. A 14-year-old boy might face charges as an adult after fatally shooting his sister because he became angry because he believed his 15-year-old brother was receiving more Christmas presents, authorities say. April Baldwin, 23, a mother of two, was holding her 11-month-old son when she was shot in the chest by her brother, was pronounced dead at a hospital following the shooting on Christmas Eve, county sheriff said in a news conference.
Wow, that's really terrible. You said that was at Christmas. Isn't that supposed to be the most joyous time? It just goes to show us how unchecked and uncontrolled anger can lead to destruction, harming ourselves and those around us.
It blinds us to reason, clouds our judgment, and can even drive us to regrettable actions.
Research done at Harvard Medical School shows that nearly 2/3 of U.S. adolescents have experienced an anger attack that involved threatening, violence, destroying property, or engaging in violence towards others at some point in their lives.
Anger also takes a toll on our physical health. It can lead to high blood pressure, heart disease, and other stress-related illnesses. The study went on to show that 1 in 12 young people, close to 6 million adolescents, meet the criteria for a diagnosis of intermittent explosive disorder, or IED, a syndrome characterized by persistent, uncontrollable anger attacks not accounted for by other mental disorders.
These uncontrollable anger attacks are the reasons for many school shootings. In 2024 alone, there have been 62 school shootings.
19 children and 2 teachers were killed in a school shooting at an elementary school. It was the deadliest school shooting in the United States in a decade. On May 24, 2022, an 18-year-old gunman carrying an AR-15 style rifle killed 19 children and 2 teachers at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. It was the deadliest school shooting since 20 children and 6 adults were killed at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Connecticut in 2012.
A lot of times, in the heat of anger, we often say and do things that we later regret, causing irreparable damage to relationships and reputations. Just this year, on March 18, a 15-year-old girl named Kaylee Gain was brutally attacked by another girl. Her head was repeatedly slammed into the concrete, leading to a fractured skull and severe brain bleeding.
Those 2 articles show what rage can lead people to do. But not all anger is that intense. Some examples can be as simple as slamming doors or objects when frustrated, yelling and shouting, physically lashing out, such as hitting walls or punching objects, making threats or engaging in aggressive behavior towards others, engaging in reckless or dangerous actions without considering the consequences.
I saw an article from right here in Abilene, Texas, where a child jumped out of a moving vehicle on East Highway 80 Tuesday morning. Police said the car was traveling east down the road when a 12-year-old child, whose parents say was in the backseat upset, opened the door and jumped out. Due to the impact of the landing on the road, the child was knocked unconscious, prompting a passerby to perform CPR.
All of that came about just because he was upset about something. The self-control unit tells us about anger on page 57. It says, anger is a normal emotion that we all experience at times. Children and adults experience anger for one reason or another. There is many reasons to get angry, as there are people. What might make one person angry might make another person laugh. It all depends on our personality and character.
Yep, we all have different things that trigger us. I've experienced anger before. There have been many times where my siblings would get on my nerves and I just want to yell at them or push them out of my room. Now, the times that I did do that, it didn't help the situation, and they just went yelling and crying to mom, and it made me regret what I had done.
You know, I had a similar situation with one of my siblings, only they would take a jacket of mine or a pair of shoes, one time even a whole outfit. And yes, I could get angry and yell, but that's not going to change the outfit, right? So instead, I politely asked her if she could come to me before she went in my closet and wore my clothes.
We all have triggers or things that make us angry, but we just have to find the best way to deal with those situations.
It's an everyday process. There's never a day that you can go without using the peaceful solution. You have to know yourself and become self-aware so you know when someone is pushing your buttons. So you can take a minute, stop, pause, step away from the situation, count to 10 so it doesn't escalate to anger.
Now let's turn to our field correspondent, Gloria, so she can tell us how she implements the peaceful solution into her everyday life.
Yes, hi, I'm PSN News correspondent Gloria Lupian, joining you now from Puerto Vallarta, Jalisco, Mexico. This is a beautiful place, and it's a popular place for tourists to visit. In fact, it is the popular place for tourists to visit every year. However, there is still a high rate of crime that affects both citizens and tourists. In a recent article, it was reported for the 6th year Mexico running registered more than 30,000 murders in 2023 alone. It has also brought to light that at least 30,000 children and young adults have been recruited by organized crime syndicates. Child trafficking is also another problem here. It has been estimated that another 30,000 children fall victim to trafficking annually, and that's only the ones that have been reported. These who come to vacation here are going to be aware of their surroundings and avoid risky areas, especially at night, and to keep their belongings secure. They have also increased police presence in tourist areas and have improved street lighting, all in an effort to keep people safe. With so many crimes involving anger and rage is all 7. R is for remain calm. We might need to step away from the situation and take deep breaths. E is for evaluate the situation. We can do this by evaluating choices we can take and see what's going on in the situation we're going through. S is to stay objective. We can do that by not raising our voices and changing facial expression. O is for overcome the desire to retaliate. We can do that by thinking other ways to solve problems without retaliating. For example, my sister steals one of my gel pens, and instead of thinking to harm my sister, I could go tell my parents that she stole one of my gel pens and that I don't appreciate that of her. Or I could tell my sister that I don't appreciate her taking my things without permission. Continuing on with the acronym, N is for negate the negative. We can avoid all negative thoughts and turn them into positive ones. And D is for determined. We have to be determined to overcome any negative thoughts because our thoughts lead to our feelings and our feelings lead to our actions. Abby, Sheba, back to you.
All of that is really great, and that acronym is one everyone should use.
So, Gloria, how else are you using the Peaceful Solution where you live?
Yes, I do online school and have showed the Peaceful Solution character education program to my classmates and to my teachers. I have given them most of the Peaceful Solution video links and websites, and I have also sent out a survey on what students and teachers need help with or struggling with. For example, a lot of students feel depressed, stressed, and anxiety. And most of the students said that they went to online school because they were either bullied or because there were rumors going around about them. We need to remember that one negative choice ripples out and can affect you and people around you. We as young adults have the ability to use our voice. We can use it to show others and to make moral choices. We can show younger children to make this world a better place, not with hatred or war, but through peace. Our positive choices start with us, it starts with us, and then it ripples out. We can plant seeds in our youth so we can make this world a better place. There are so many statistics about young people being depressed and not feeling loved or cared for. But we can change those statistics only if we're willing to make a positive change in our lives and show through our actions. The Peaceful Solution teaches us the basic skills on how to handle ourselves during a stressful situation, and with practice, we will continue to grow and learn. We should try to apply the Peaceful Solution character education program to our lives to the best of our ability. It is not an easy thing to do, but it is the greatest and only thing that will work in a family, in a city, a state, or globally to change our society. But it will only work if we're willing to apply it to our lives. It will stop all conflicts, disagreements, and fightings in every home, in every school, in every city, and in every nation. It will stop all the wars we're having today as a society. I'm PSN News correspondent Gloria Lupian, coming live from Puerto Vallarta, Jalisco, Mexico. Abby, Sheba, back to the studio. Thank you.
Thanks, Gloria. And you're right. It really does come down to us and applying this within ourselves.
Realizing that we can't change other people, but we can look at ourselves and learn how to practice self-control so we don't take our anger out on others in ways that can possibly cause hurt or harm.
Well, that concludes this edition of PSNN. I'm Abby Heimerman.
And I'm Sheba Alexander.
Thanks for watching.
I don't think I can do this anymore. Hello?
Hello? Hey, yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Hey, great. Listen, I just checked the fridge and man, we're all out of like some stuff to make fruit salad. I was just wondering if you could pick up some of those grapes, like those big fat juicy ones we had last week, and maybe some cherries on your way home. You could stop by the grocery store. I really want to make another one of those fruit salads. That would be great.
Oh my heavens. I literally just passed the store. You really want me to go back?
Not if it's going to be an inconvenience to you. Is everything all right? You seem a little bit upset.
Hang on, I need to pull over. It's been a really, really rough day.
Okay, what's going on? I mean, you know, it doesn't seem like it normally goes this way.
I don't know how much longer I can do this. The very thing that I loved doing every day of my life, which is teaching, I can't do it anymore. I actually hate it now.
Really? You hate it? I mean, I remember back in your 20s, you were talking about how much you wanted to help children and wanted to try to make an improvement, making a difference in their life. And that was the whole drive for you going to get your teaching degree, and has been your push ever since. You love it.
I know, I used to love it, but this bunch that I have this year, they're completely out of control, and the frustrating thing is that I can't seem to reach them. I can't get through to them, and I want to so badly.
Well, you know, there's always setbacks and everything, but I mean, you're smart. I know you can figure it out. You know what? Just tell you what. Don't even worry about the grapes. Just come home. We'll talk about it, and we'll get this hashed out.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to vent on you. I can get the grapes. Okay, I'll talk to you later. Bye. Oh, hey.
Are you okay?
I'm okay.
You're having car troubles or something?
No, I'm not having car troubles.
Okay. Seems like something's wrong. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just sitting on the side of the road. I just got off the phone with my husband. Yeah. What are you doing?
Checking on you.
Yeah?
Yeah. Seeing you here, it's
Yeah.
kind of odd for you to be here and not home.
You have time to talk?
Yeah, you want to talk about it?
Sure. You want to get in?
Sure. All right, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
What you got going on?
Lots. I know.
Stressful times.
It is stressful times, but I don't want to be stressed. Well, I've talked to you about this before. You know how the kids are at school.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how I'm literally at my wit's end. I feel like I don't have any options with them. They don't listen. I mean, the whole reason why I went into teaching was to make a connection with the students and to make a positive change in this world and in the children's lives, but I can't seem to get through to them, and it's so frustrating because I want to. I mean, I have all the continuing education, I've went to college. You would think that I would be able to do what I went to school for, but I'm at a loss, and I just don't know what to do.
Stressful times. Kids are a little hard to deal with. I understand that.
I mean, I can see that they're trying, but they're struggling, and it's hard to watch that every day when you go to work. But you remember the student Esther that I told you about?
Yeah.
Did I tell you about the essay that she wrote?
Yeah, you didn't tell me about the essay.
There was a school essay, and she actually wrote about me as being her role model.
Oh wow.
I know. And I mean, that's why I went into teaching, to actually make that connection with the students. And I've made that connection with one of the students, but I can't seem to make the connection with the rest of the students. Yeah.
That's got to be difficult.
It's very frustrating.
Well, you can take her as an example and just kind of think about that. That's a positive thing. I wonder what makes her so different.
I'm not sure, but she's definitely different. I don't know what I can figure out. I can't quite put my finger on it.
Have you met her parents?
No, I haven't met her parents. I do see her mom drop her off at school in the morning.
Parent-teacher conference with her. Try to find out why she's so different.
What does she do? How does she do it?
That's a great idea. Although I don't think it can wait till the next parent-teacher conference because we just had one, so I can't wait 2 or 3 months. I definitely need to talk to her mom though. That's a really great idea.
Well, what if you call her tonight?
I think I'll see if I can call her and just see what she does. Because she's definitely doing something different, and I'd like to know what it is.
It's rare these days.
It is. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time. Plus, I gotta get going home.
I'm glad you're okay.
I'm okay.
Had to check on you.
Thanks.
Sitting on the side of the road by yourself. It ain't safe around here. Okay?
I know.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Hello.
Hello, Mrs. Brooks.
Hi, Mrs. Alexander.
Oh, please call me Tina.
Oh, you can call me Joan.
Well, let me start by telling you how much I enjoy having Esther in my class this year. To be honest, she's probably the most respectful and well-behaved student in the entire class. And honestly, I would like to know, what miracle pill did you use to raise this child?
Well, if you can imagine, my home was not always that peaceful and calm place as you see it right now. It took me a while. I was on a quest of looking for a program that can help me make my environment at home more comfortable and more pleasant to be able to be in. And then I was able to find the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program. And with that program, it helped me and the children. We see a lot of behavioral changes, but it really made my home a more pleasant place to be in.
Wow, can you tell me more about this program?
Of course. It's a program that helps train and develop children from every age range, starting with the Early Learning series. It teaches morals and ownership, such as asking permission before touching anyone's belonging and waiting for them to give an answer. And one aspect of the program I remember where it talks about no is okay. So even though you might ask and hope to get yes from the owner for something, you must be able to accept no, even if the owner says no, and you will not be able to be upset about it.
Amazing. I'm very impressed in how well she responds to disappointment when she's told no.
I'm going to tell you the truth. It really brought a lot of calm and peace in my home. Every person knows they have rights to their own belonging, and the children even go around reminding each other, no, it's okay. Please accept the decision that you're given.
I can imagine. So how do you make it interesting?
Well, I must say, I usually rise early in the morning, and around about 6 o'clock, I will gather the children to the breakfast table. And there we go through the program, say about an hour each day, and then we break that down. I see it as part of the food. Sometimes for time constraint, I allow each one of the children a role of being a teacher. So by doing that, it really keep them engaged and allow them to appreciate and learn from the program.
That's fantastic. Well, Esther really has grabbed a hold of what you've been teaching her. She really is one of a kind, and you're doing a great job.
Well, thank you. I truly think of it this way. I see the school being responsible for teaching the children the academic, but I see it as my role where I will teach them morals and behavioral training that starts at home, and I take that role to be able to teach them every day before going back to school.
Well, you certainly can be well pleased because you're training at home with her, and her willingness to learn, I can see it reflected in her work here.
Yes, Esther, she truly liked learning new things. And one aspect of the Peaceful Solution Education Program is that it's a thought-provoking program. It really stimulates the mind of the children, and at times even to discuss problems that is going along, problems in society and current affairs, such as sometimes when we look on the news and we see school shooting and bullying. I'm able to incorporate those things at home. Some of the children express their fear, but for Esther, from the program, she understands clearly that all lives are important, all lives are valuable, and she will come up using solution of how she can make calm and make a different choice.
Well, this conversation has been a real eye-opener for me. Would you consider presenting this program at our upcoming PTA meeting?
Oh, I would be delighted. I think that every parent if they're given an opportunity to use this tool at home, they will definitely be able to make their home and environment a more peaceful one. I can definitely say that was the game changer in my family.
Well, thank you very much, Joan. I'll keep you informed as the PTA meeting gets closer. I definitely want to try this program in my class. I could probably ask Esther to teach class with me as well.
I know that will be wonderful. She will definitely say yes because she really loves teaching, and she even see you as an admirer. She admires you as a teacher each day.
I can believe that. The other teachers and I were actually discussing Esther's essay last week, and I was quite surprised by what she wrote about me. Reading her words reminded me of the very reason I went into teaching. I wanted to make a positive impact on the next generation of leaders.
Oh yes, she takes that role very seriously. The piece of solution talk about parents being the first teacher, but it also put emphasis on the role of the teacher, those who are having the ability to mold and shape the minds of young leaders. I can definitely see her putting value on a teacher.
Well, I'm very encouraged by this conversation. Thank you very much for sharing.
And thank you. You really made my day. Bye now.
Hello, everyone. Would you believe me if I told you I was that child? I know, I've grown, but I am going to tell you a little bit about my journey. Early on, I was described as easy to deal with and get along, respectful to all, different from other children. Don't take that too hard. But some would say polite and well-mannered. It was funny because I didn't see what the big fuss was all about. I acted the way I always did, how I was trained. It's only later that I see the actions of my peers differed from my own. You see, the other children were impulsive and liked to cause havoc. Instead of asking for things, they would take it. Rather than waiting to be called upon, they would shout their answers and start a ruckus. In place of accepting the answer no, they would throw a tantrum or continue to ask till they wore the owner down. Very few times did I try a stunt like that because one, it was not allowed in my house, not with my mom, and two, usually the consequences of those actions were not worth it. It's funny, I've had people accuse me of being more mature than my age, and in their words, wise. But let me set something straight. I can't accredit this to myself, by no means. The credit goes to the parenting that I received and the application of the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program. Who I am today is thanks to what I have learned. Because I know better, I must now do better. Looking back, there was concepts of this program that stuck out to me, and I want to share some with you today. Number one, top of my list, you've heard it, no is okay. One of my best rules. When you understand the rights of ownership, it changes the game. You have a choice concerning what is yours, even what you are willing to do. It still surprises some adults that there's an option called no. On more than one occasion, I've left people speechless when I used my right to decline to do something I wasn't comfortable with. You know, they'll blink twice and try to confuse me. Oh no, it's okay, it's all right, you'll have fun. Well, they soon learn that my answer does not change. It remains no, and that is okay. Number two, this is something that before the Peace Solution I've never heard or seen before. What I have seen in the actions and attitudes of others is give respect to get respect, or this person doesn't deserve my respect. It was almost like a transaction, and let me tell you, the purchases were very, very low. What was a new thing to me, get this, respect should be given to everyone, for it is a basic right that all humans, better yet, all life deserves. I've had people ask me why I wasn't rude to so-and-so, or because they treated me badly, why I still greeted them with a smile. At the end of the day, I know that how their actions made me feel, and I wouldn't will that on anyone. Another plus, they'll remember that your positive character was consistent, and maybe they'll return the same positive energy back. Number three, I know I'm not the only one. Since you've learned of the program, how many of you can say that you've seen changes, positive changes in your life? One that people see very quickly is that you don't get angry so quickly, or you seem so chill lately. I credit this to the knowledge that no one can make you angry. It is a choice. That's something to chew on. Once I grasped that, I saw things differently. No, we can't change others or even some situations that we land in. But how we react, that's up to us. That makes me think of the STOP acronym. In our fast-paced world, reacting versus thinking first through situations is precedence. This program gets you to stop and think first. It's definitely saved me countless times. When you allow this program to become ingrained in you, you automatically respond with a peaceful solution. So I was thinking about it the other day. The techniques that I've learned, it followed me even through my workplace. There, I am in a unique situation to see how others who haven't had the peace solution also respond to situations. So during the busy season, there is 3 to 4 trucks we expect of new products. Ahead of time, we are alerted when they should come, but lots of time they come anytime, anywhere, regardless. So we were surprised one day when it showed up first thing on a Monday morning after a very, very busy weekend. I had to breathe, I had to stop, I had to count to 10 in my head, I had to calm down. And we have one employee who doesn't do that very easily. She kind of freaks out. She started saying, I can't believe they came at this time of the day when they know we have so much things to do. But I continue to remain calm and figure out what we can do very quickly to make everything move smoothly. And I can see this in a lot of the other coworkers that I work with because they also remain calm. We try to leave the problematic one alone a little bit because she does freak out, but eventually she does calm down. What I have learned, or what I can see, is the ripple effect of this program, because my energy did rub off on them, and we're all learning to have that self-control. Well, guys, this brings me to the end of my lessons learned from the Peaceful Solution. What I want all of you to do is think about how a Peace Solution has affected you, how it's positively changed you, because it is very effective. All of you are living testimonies of that fact. So give yourself a round of applause. And before the day is out, find someone and share your story, because I know everyone wants to hear it. And with this, I will encourage you to continue on being that peaceful solution and making a change in the world for the better. Please remain seated and welcome with me our next speaker.
Morning, everyone. The topic of my portion today, I've entitled it Breaking Through Depression with the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program. I have a question for you. Would you know how to help someone with depression? If I could have my next slide. 280 million people in the world are suffering with depression. 280 million people. And symptoms include persistent sadness, hopelessness, and emptiness, decline in cognitive function, irritability and anxiety, and a loss of interest in life. Now, when you see those words, those symptoms on the screen, I want you to understand that there are people behind those words. They're not just letters on the screen, they're not just words on the screen, these are people that are struggling in their lives. So I'm sure you can understand that depression has the ability to change the way you think, the way you feel, and the way that you act. 280 million people worldwide. And I stand before you today as one of those 280 million people. It started with a very, very subtle and slow change in my mindset and my ability to cope with life's challenges after having each of my children, and particularly after I had my twins. And it ended where I was crying uncontrollably, pretty much 24/7, and I had actually lost the will to live. And I do not use those words lightly. I had lost the will to live. Life had become not worth living. And it's important to remember that people that are living with depression, they're not trying to be miserable. someone from the outside might look at someone that's struggling like that and they might say, well, they can't think positive. You know, they're not looking at all the things they have to be thankful for. But people that are struggling with depression, they're not trying to be miserable. And for me, I wanted to be joyful. I wanted to be able to handle life's challenges as they came. But it was like my brain could not, for some reason, switch back to normalcy. And I felt hopeless and helpless. To give you an example of this, everything was extremely hard to do for me. Just getting my child a glass of milk was overwhelming. I had to push myself with every ounce of physical and mental strength that I had to just walk into the kitchen, open the refrigerator door, pour the milk into the glass before I would become so physically and mentally overwhelmed that I would burst into tears and not be able to stop them from streaming down my face. I cried a lot. The best way that I can explain it was that every cell within my body was sad. My children would come over to me with a concerned look on their face and they would ask, Mom, what's wrong? And I didn't want to bother them with my problems, so I tried unsuccessfully to hide that I was crying. My son would see me struggling with basic tasks, and he would try to comfort me by saying, Mom, it's going to be okay. I credit the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program with saving my life. Because it was through this difficult time of emptiness and hopelessness that there was something inside of me that whispered, just keep going. There was a voice inside my head that said, you are valuable. A voice that gently said, possibly not today, maybe not even tomorrow, but one day things will be better. That voice was the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program. If I could have my next slide. Now, a tool that many people use on a journey is a navigational compass. And the definition of compass is a device for finding direction. And it points to magnetic north. For me, magnetic north represented the way up and out of depression. It was the lessons of the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program that had previously been planted into my heart and into my mind that gave me something that I could grasp. These simple truths ended up being specks of glimmering light in the darkness of my mind. And I grasped onto these specks of glimmering light with every ounce of strength that I had left within my being. The Peaceful Solution is the only program. It is the only program that is so powerful that it can save your life with one word, one sentence, one acronym, one concept. It certainly has saved mine. And as we conclude our speaking portion this morning, I want to bring to remembrance that it is through people just like you and through the previous speakers before me, with deep dedication and constant persistence, that we will bring the changes needed within society today. Society and people within society, they are searching for hope, and we are that hope. This concludes the speaking session at this time, and I will now turn the program over to the next portion.
Hello, hello. Let's give all of our speakers another round of applause. And remember that our theme for today is Be the Peaceful Solution by planting seeds of morality. Responsible choices start with you. So one thing that we all search for, no matter who we are, where we are in the world, the young and the old alike, we are all searching for peace. And it's something that on our own at times we come up lacking, because peace can't be achieved with just one person. It takes a whole community. The Peaceful Solution has brought together groups of people from all walks of life, from all over the world, who are willing to work together for one common goal. We've had an inspirational morning so far, so to continue to add to our learning, a diligent group of women and children have been working on a special song presentation. Please welcome them.
The newspapers are filled with all who's been killed. Violence and murders abound. Brothers killing brothers. When will we learn? When will peace be found? We are the peaceful solution. We're the only way to peace. The peaceful solution changes hearts and minds. We're what the world needs today. Cheating hearts bring disease. From all this pain, when will it cease? Nation against nation, not to mention civil war, violence and aggression. What's all this hate for? Weapons of mass destruction, bringing fear throughout the world. When will peace be found? Somos la solución pacífica. El único camino hacia la paz, cambiando el corazón y la mente mundialmente, la solución pacífica ayudar. Can't you see the world's in turmoil? Can't you see the world needs our peace? Can't you hear the cries for help? We can make this pain cease if we strive and pursue peace. We can make this pain cease. Tunalo sinugura amani. Njia ya pekee ya amani inayobadilisha mioyo na akili. Ulimwengu watuhitaji leo. Practice the peaceful solution so the world won't be this way. Bloodshed and abuse will cease upon the land. Neighbors will be willing to lend a helping hand. Mothers will love their children. For justice we will stand, and we will spread peace all over the land. Respect, hope, and compassion will be our solution. Crime, abuse, and hopelessness will be our home war. Bringing peace and unity, no more wars throughout the nations. This will all be done with the peaceful solution. We are the peaceful solution. We're the only way to peace. The peaceful solution changes hearts and what the world needs today. We are the peaceful solution. We possess the only way to peace. The world's in anguish. We can change their hearts and minds, teaching them the way to make a better day, laying a strong foundation to the only way to peace. Only way to peace. Yeah, yeah.
Well done. Wasn't that beautiful? In a world ever searching for peace, search no more. The Peaceful Solution Character Education Program is all about changing the hearts and minds to bring peace. It starts with each one of us, and we can achieve it. We've had a full presentation so far this morning, so let's take everything that we learned and we heard and continue on our journey towards peace. At this time, please welcome our partners in peace.
That was wonderful. That was a wonderful presentation from our partners in peace there. And they say music is a universal language. And it's really, really cool to see all the different languages coming together, all the people from the different places who are all singing the same thing, and they're speaking the language of peace. That is wonderful. Let's give them another round of applause. So we are a little bit behind schedule. We're going to go ahead and break for lunch. We're going to have an hour and 20 minutes for lunch, maybe a little bit extra, so we're going to go ahead and try to come back at around 1:50. 1:50. So everyone, you're dismissed for lunch, and have a wonderful lunch.